December 16th meeting on Monday, joint with the Conservation Commission. And I'm gonna put some of this stuff behind us now, but there's a request for an extension on 119 Russell Street. Do you know what that's about?
That's the sort of side parcel for Workers' Credit Union, the one where they've already put in the hole. And they're just looking for an extension.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Douglas DeShane and Goudreau here representing Workers' Credit Union. I had submitted a request for an extension of the permit on 119. You'll recall that's the site where the branch bank is going to be built, and actually was permitted prior to the headquarters building. I understand that that permit for the branch building was extended once before, and as you know, my clients are focused on getting the headquarters done, and then we'll be moving to build the branch. So what we'd ask for is an extension of the order of conditions for the branch so that we can have time to get to it. We won't get to it before we finish the headquarters.
How close you to finishing the headquarters?
We're looking for occupancy springtime, late spring. So it's shelled up right now, and they're working on the interior.
Seems like it's taken a long time. I've kind of watched it, and it seems like it.
Yeah, I mean, it did go down to the steel superstructure, so there was a fair bit of work, including demo, to get to the point where we're at right now.
And how long would you need for that branch?
I think we asked for 3
I asked for
years,
3 just because that way it makes it easiest. I mean,
so we're not coming back.
I would probably need, would ask that 2 would be probably the minimum, because if we finish the headquarters, say by spring, early summer, it's going to take them a while to ramp up. I don't know if they intend to break ground in 2020 on the branch.
I'm not sure.
And then that would give them 1 year beyond that. So 2-year minimum, 3 years if it's whatever the commission's comfortable with. I think 2 would be suffice if you have an issue with 3.
Seems like 3 wouldn't be out of line if they are where they've been working on this major project to start with, and that's still all going to go forward.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
No, I agree. I think were this a standalone and you weren't doing a directly related project, so I'm sure you're familiar, typically we would look at has there been any progress made, and if you're not making progress, then that's, usually the conversations, surrounds that for extension. And my thought is, since, it's directly related and obviously co-located with the other building, and just the realities of construction, I would feel comfortable with an extension for 3.
You're making a motion.
I'll make a motion to extend file 204-746 at 119 Russell Street for 3 years.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We're also here, you'll recall we were in some number of weeks ago. Good evening. Hi. And we had proposed some changes to our landscaping. We were proposing to put a significant walkway around the building partially within the buffer zone. We provided some details on a cupola. Pergola.
We discussed the many categories of covered seating at the
with a little rooster on the top or something.
gazebo.
And we also at that time provided you a more detailed analysis of the proposed landscaping, specific plants and trees and things. However, we do know, the board, some members of the board had some concerns with the walkway around the building and its impact on the buffer, given, how close we were to begin with. And some people had some concerns. So we talked about it with our client. It was really for them an amenity to add for their employees, although I guess it did also raise some concerns even within the bank folks in terms of security. You know, maybe you don't want walkways that the public may or may not use, all around your building at night kind of thing. So we actually decided to eliminate most of that walkway. You see, we no longer, and I know, Brian, you forwarded a copy of this plan. So we did eliminate, excuse me, we did eliminate the walkway that was over here, and I think the one that was of most concern to folks. We did retain the walkway in this point here, mostly because that actually connects two parts of the building, right?
The
cafeteria.
And that outdoor seating.
And the outdoor seating, and we did think that would be something we really would like the commission to consider. And again, the pergola is here, and the landscaping. I think other than this,
And one other key point to note, there was a little bit of a contentious item with respect to whatever the service treatment is going to be. So it's no longer proposed as stone dust, but permeable paver. So it'll be the same as what the actual sitting area is. They'll carry that paver to the rear entrance, to the cafeteria entrance.
Wasn't that other pathway pushed forward or supported by the planning board? Aren't they saying you want to connect to the sidewalk, and are they okay with it?
well, it wasn't a requirement of our permits. It was one of those things where, would you consider, we'd like to do this? Or we'd like to see, the planning board loves to see as much interconnectivity and walkability. But we have, we're still providing these trails out here. We will have this. People could connect right across here.
Right.
So we'll still be able to go, and then this trail will also allow us to move down here and get back onto this site. You'll recall we had also called for something down in here. But again, on balance, I think, we understood where you were coming from, and again, it wasn't so critical that we thought it was worth really getting too involved in the, so we're going to keep this all as we had proposed. We're not going to touch this either, just that section.
And you said there's seating out there, so it'd be a
Yep,
place
right.
people would
Yep.
naturally walk anyways.
I believe there was always
Grass
a
with
seating
chair.
area proposed here. It's
Yep.
just that we added the pergola and the plantings.
Thinking this guy
Yep.
here, is that a door there too?
There is a door, so
Seating?
this is
So
the
that's a
cafeteria.
natural, that's a
Yep.
natural flow area, and
Yep.
if you're, I guess, that's kind of what I'm thinking. If it's a natural flow, natural walking area anyways, grass is just gonna erode and get muddy.
And as Brian said, we switched over the permeable pavers, which
Yeah.
match what was proposed
Right,
for
it
that
would wash
area
away.
anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, what does the board feel? How do you feel about this?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So just approve it as a minor,
Yeah.
minor.
Yeah, that's a minor.
Somebody make a
This-
motion to,
I'll make a motion that we call this a minor project change.
Second?
all
You got redone with your motion?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And you'll have a plan that's laid out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
and I'll send you a letter.
Yeah, do you want?
If that's an extra, I'll take it,
Got
so
two of
it's
them.
on top.
There you go.
well, thank you very much. Have a wonderful
thank you
holiday.
very
We'll
much.
see you in
You too.
2020.
Thank you.
Strange as it
Thanks, Doug.
sounds, huh?
I know. 1980 was 20 years ago.
This, handling this next one?
Well, I had to kind of front-end load this because some stuff came in at the last minute. Can we deal with the 27 Fort Pond Hill request for certificate of compliance? Okay. John, I don't know, did anybody get a chance to go out there and look at it? It was like short notice when the snow.
Not in
No,
daylight.
quick.
I know. No, I didn't get a chance in daylight, but
Yeah.
do you want to describe it?
Here's the photos. So the work is done.
Oh, that place. That's a steep hill down the...
Right, the house in back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
So
you can't tell. But
the work is done, the grass isn't 100%. There's still some sort of jute netting over on the side. They did make some changes that John Field and I had talked about a little bit to make the corner at the bottom of the driveway better for turns, and some sort of minor adjustments to some of the drainage to make it a little bit, work actually a little bit better. So I just didn't know if you felt that was stable enough to get a certificate or wait till the spring.
I'm looking at the next 2 pages, and it kind
Yeah.
of looks like it's,
Eh,
I don't think so.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
That's, I think,
It's too unfinished.
I think if it, yeah. Yeah,
At least it's contained stable, but it's not.
it's contained and stable, but it's not compliance in my,
There's no growth on there.
well, and you
It
can't
was,
have
it was just too late in the
it's-
season.
Yeah.
It's partial.
I mean, is it holding up, like,
It's
an
holding up.
occupancy?
It is. It's, oh, no, it's occupied, right? Yeah,
Okay, so it's not holding up occupancy,
right.
is it?
And I was also gonna say, if it thaws again, you can take the erosion controls out that are kind of like, I don't know, in front of the house, down there, on the other side of that little rock wall, retaining wall that was built.
So
You're not gonna do it when it's frozen, but there's something else that's gonna have to happen anyway,
Oh.
later, yeah.
You don't want a mudslide?
I guess the consensus of the board might be to table this until next spring.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite ready yet.
Sorry
We took-
about that.
We took the erosion control out, the, that's still issues,
See
unfortunately.
more growth.
Close, but
Not there.
no, not per certificate.
So you just might wanna contact me, I don't know, in June sometime or whenever. In June, maybe, when things are growing again and it's stabilized.
John,
Or May, I mean, whenever you think it's,
table it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I don't think we need to vote or anything, and just
Okay.
let it
See you
go.
next spring. Okay. Public meeting request for determination of applicability 277 Tehadawon, U31-40, new septic system for a new house.
Good evening, for the record, Brian Goodrow with Hancock Associates. So we filed an RDA for 277 Tehadawon. Currently it is a vacant lot and there is a wetland that resides across Tehadawon Road. So the buffer actually projects into the site by about 35 feet or so. So a single-family home is proposed along with a septic system, and essentially the system is outside of the 100-foot buffer, but grading and associated site work is within the buffer. And then, obviously, we have a new driveway being proposed as well. So we're...
65
Would
feet
you mind
would be the
pulling me in
closest.
exactly where this is on Tehadawon Road?
So if you look at where it splits from Harwood to Tehadawon, it's all the way down towards Newtown. So it's not on the town side, it's further.
I only took a quick look at it, and the wetlands are across the street, kind of basically toe of slope, so.
So what we have done is we had digitized that from Littleton GIS with the approximation that because it's grade dictated, it's going to be fairly accurate.
And then how is the grading for the septic system, how is it gonna change the slope that's currently there?
So it's just going to push it out. You're basically at about a 4-to-1 slope right now. It's a pretty big hill.
Yep.
So we're going to table it for the septic system, step the trenches down, and then daylight down to the rock wall that's at the right-of-way, essentially.
Is this across from the Newtown Triangle? That's what I'm trying to figure out, where you,
It's across from that large field.
yeah. Which is the town,
It's town-owned,
Yep.
yeah.
so you're up on the hillside then?
Yes, yep.
I don't know, what's the board feel?
Are the wetlands on the other side of Tehadawon, is that where they are?
There.
Amy, what's your opinion?
It seemed fairly straightforward, especially with the wetland being across the street.
Yeah.
Now, how high is the groundwater table?
Groundwater range, so we conducted soil testing out here in groundwater range from 40 inches to 30 inches, so 2.5 to 3.5 feet.
So you have to build it up pretty high.
Any culverts near the property that?
No.
And then, so I think, you know, at another project we recently looked at with wetlands across the road, we were looking at additional runoff from the development that would then just sheet flow across the road or get contributed to the stormwater system. So do you have like stormwater calculations for the grading? Okay, right, because it's septic, but is it wooded now?
Yes, it is
Okay.
currently wooded, so there will be a tree clearing that's associated with constructing the house and the system.
Okay.
That's all between the
Seems
100 and the
like-
50?
Um,
The
so
grading?
this- yeah,
65
this-
to 100.
Exactly, this is the small section that's within the buffer, and then all of this is outside.
Okay.
But part of the 50 is the road, so it's going to sheet, there's sheet flow, it's less of a buffer, so part of the buffer is a road and not a buffer. And
Right,
so,
right.
So I'm wondering if there's something that we can do to slow the stormwater, if there, like maybe swale or something that can be incorporated.
So typically, given these slopes, I don't really like to do anything driveway oriented because you're coming down at 10%, 13%, so it really doesn't attenuate the runoff very much. What we can look at is something kind of at the terminal end here and create a little bit of a depression just right behind the stone wall here.
Under retention.
And,
Small
it's
retention.
going to be small, it's going to be shallow, we're talking
Right.
6 inches, 12 inches. And it's really more to catch any of the water from, like you had indicated, sheeting directly into the road. I mean, if you look at the Hattawan, there are natural roadside swales. So you basically have the pavement, and then you have a little bit of a depression, and then the rock wall. So it's not going to go from the site across the road directly into the wetland. It's going to be caught up by the
Is there a
gutter at the
swale along the road there?
On the road, yes.
Yeah.
On the driveway, no.
No, on the road
On the
itself,
road,
so it's
correct, yeah,
catching.
so there's a little bit of a depression from the edge of the pavement to the rock wall that defines the right-of-way.
So the change of use in the site from wooded to, I would assume, grass, right, because that's what you need to stick over or septic. Yeah, I mean, that would really just be my only concern is making sure that we're not contributing more to, because the swale on the road is going to take it to the lowest point and then
Exactly.
the wetlands anyways, so
Exactly.
that would be my concern is to.
So what's the board's opinion?
Maybe with that
Do you need to go look at
addition?
it?
I don't think so. Do you want to go look at it? Anybody else?
I don't need to look at it. I can,
Yeah, I mean, I feel comfortable with the site description. I did Google Earth view it. Couldn't exactly tell where, but, I think if some stormwater retention is created, I would feel comfortable. We're, 65 feet and farther.
Okay.
It's just with that, having the road well within, having that little additional stormwater attenuation, I think would
Yeah, so we don't
meet
have
the
an issue.
intent of what we're trying to protect.
So
the
basically, you
resource.
want to continue this and set up a site walk, is that what I'm hearing?
No.
No?
People didn't want to.
No.
Okay.
I think we just like some stormwater. I just like some stormwater. During the day.
So, I guess if the commission would feel comfortable making that a condition, we can revise the plan and get it to Amy for the files. One of the critical pieces is timing. We're trying to close the property before year end. So if it
Okay.
could be conditioned as a part of a -3 determination, we're certainly committing
that?
to.
We can do that?
Yeah, you don't want to go crazy with your conditions on
Yeah.
RDA, but
Yeah,
one
no,
condition
of
is
course not.
typical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And then, yeah.
Somebody
I was
make a
going to make a
motion.
motion.
Go for it.
Make a motion to issue a negative RDA with the one condition for 277 Tadawon, U31-4-0.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
How long do you think it'll take you to get me that plan?
I'll turn it on this week for you.
So if I drag my
Say they
feet a little
had
bit, it'll be
approval
done
for
before you
help.
issue this? How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Sounds good.
Is dragging feet acceptable, or are you still trying to? Okay,
That works.
it'll be before Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Do you have some paperwork for us to sign?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I didn't, but I stole this from another project, so you can sign that cover page, but thank you. It really annoyed me.
Yeah. Public meeting, request for determination of applicability, 604 Newtown, U29-3, replacement of a septic system. Who wants to speak to that one?
I can hold it if you want.
It'll fit.
I'm Kevin Ritchie from Civil Solutions, here with Grant Mills and his wife Emma Martin, owners of 604 Newtown Road. Grant's currently got a failed septic system. He's got a cesspool here in the side yard, some kind of leaching area down here at the base of the hill. The 604 Newtown is, it's across from Boxborough Road, basically. Just past it. If you're coming from the center, you go down Newtown. Boxborough Road's on the right. The site's on the left.
Sounds like this might have
It's like
been a
the last
Fencer property.
There's a couple houses up from 576 Newtown, which was in for the
Yeah.
replacement.
But just before that wetland?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the
wetland's behind it,
wetland
yeah.
is
Yeah.
just after the house and kind of wraps around the back of it.
Kind of sounds like that's the piece a bunch of the
Good
people
wildlife viewing.
take the wood off of when it was all
Good wildlife
dead.
viewing.
Yeah, it
The
was.
swamp,
Lots of good stuff there.
yeah.
Did you say it was a cesspool?
So he's got a cesspool here on the
They usually have a
side.
leaching area for a cesspool?
And then he's got a tank, so he's got two systems there.
Oh, okay.
Comes out of the house in two places, comes out.
That's exciting.
The sewage the sewage is lapping the underside of the cover on the cesspool. Got a tank and some unknown system down at the bottom of the hill. Front yard's got some ledge in it and the utilities in it. So the house kind of sits up a little bit above the road, it's probably sitting up top of the ledge. A relatively steep slope down behind the house and then a very flat backyard. But the wetlands, the property line, stone wall, and the wetlands kind of run along that. And then they wrap around the back.
And I walked the site actually a while ago
Yeah.
at this point, and Matt Maurer did the delineation, I
Yes.
believe, and he did flag some of the lawn as wetlands, so he did
Yeah.
he looked at it, yeah.
Yeah.
So we filed an RDA. The leaching area is 76 feet off the wetlands. The siltation barrier at its closest point is 51 feet. So he's gonna,
Is that the orange?
that's the orange line, yeah.
It's the siltation?
Yeah, no, the orange, the yellow is the siltation barrier.
Oh, okay.
Orange is a 50.
Oh, okay, the
Yeah.
orange is a 50?
Yeah. So we have been before the Board of Health. The Board of Health has issued the permit.
Sorry, where's the, okay, so the location of the new one?
So the new tank will go basically in the same spot as the existing tank. And then the leaching area is at the base of the hill, right in this area here.
And you're gonna fill in
So
the
the
cesspool?
cesspool will disappear, yeah, it'll be pumped out and filled in.
That'll be an improvement.
Same with the septic tank, that'll be pumped out.
Glad to see that go.
Yeah, cesspool was the closest to the wetland, so it's good.
Yeah, I'll
Get
get
it away.
It seems like you're mitigating the cesspool impact to the property and replacing the septic essentially in the current location.
More or less, yeah.
more or less.
I mean, this is a cesspool, so
Right.
we're a little further away.
Yep.
Here's the existing one.
But other than that, but you said the tank,
Yeah, and also the
the tank's going in the
here.
existing location? and
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
okay. I don't see any issue with that. There's really no other spot to put it. Get any farther away, and it's failed, and we're taking the the cesspool out.
And this has been approved by the Board of Health
Yes.
already?
I have to put them in if you want to say.
That's okay.
No, I have no problem with it, it's far enough away.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody want to make a
There's
motion
no
to
other
approve
option.
it?
Carl, you want to do it?
Sure, why not? It's been so long, I forgot how to do it. Make a motion to approve, or are we issuing a request for, an RDA, request for determination of applicability for 604 Newtown Road, U29-3.
You have to say a negative. right?
Negative
Say that?
determination, -3.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Wow, we're really turning them.
That one's gonna keep moving, or is it coming back?
They're all the same.
I think it's coming back.
We haven't actually made progress. Have a good Christmas.
You too.
Thank you, too.
It'll slow down. After you, after you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we have 2 minutes until we can start the next one.
Wait.
Yeah, we got to go back up to the top. Request, how about doing the minutes?
have to wait till 9:30.
Anybody get any omissions or corrections to the minutes
Yeah.
from November 18th?
So long.
Yeah,
The,
lifetime.
under administration discussion, general business, it should read the Long Lake Wetlands Park operations and maintenance, because Long Lake Park is a different location, so this is all about the wetlands park.
Is it a wetlands park, or is it just
That's a
stormwater
It has-
infrastructure?
When it was first put in, it
That's
was
what it's
called a
called.
wetlands
I've never heard-
park.
Because they
Okay.
actually constructed, they dug out.
That sounds
the
way
wetland.
more fun than
It's actually like a
stormwater
wetlands stormwater.
infrastructure, so.
So I'm trying to get people
That
not to call it the
sounds-
frog pond, because it's a stormwater facility, and we're gonna be mucking it out, so.
Yeah.
Frogs.
I mean, it's really woody around it, it looks like a wetland park.
Yeah.
Oh, and under public hearing notice of intent, 576 Newtown, the 4th sentence says, removal and disposal of excavated soil will be office.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I had.
What is- I didn't know what.
It is offsite.
Offsite
Oh,
property.
offsite.
Assumed.
I did not assume.
my desk.
What is
I had-
this?
I had-
Don't look at me.
That was the one, yeah, that was the one that I
I
had.
didn't have major changes. It's just-
Okay, offsite. Okay. All right. Okay, the continued public hearing notice of intent, Healy Corner, 195 at Tahadawan. It states, like, almost halfway down the paragraph, it says, avoidance of the crossing could be required, but would have significantly more NDA impacts. I would qualify that and say that that would be the case only if they still develop the rear of the property, would they have significantly more NDA impacts if they didn't avoid the crossing, or if they avoided the crossing. And just editorial things. And then continued public hearing, notice of intent, 12 Mary Shepherd. The first sentence is, and Paul Biagioni, ... Does that mean you left out people?
Here 3 times?
Thought maybe there was.
Yeah, I think I didn't
and-
have your business name in.
Oh,
So leave that circled.
okay.
fill in your own comments about coffee here.
It's easy.
Okay, just a couple of cases where a word is missing. Okay, update workers' credit union, last sentence, it says, they propose that they could do more naturalization as mitigation for the additional walkway area, and/or will use permeable materials, but I thought they said they will use permeable materials. They were talking about the stone dust or
Well, stone
not,
dust is not permanent.
and/or. Stone dust is
It would have to
permeable.
be
I think
paved.
that permeable pavers.
It depends how it's, yeah.
Yeah, not in the form of walk.
Yeah, I guess you could stick pavers in there if you wanted to get specific.
But anyway, they changed their minds
Yeah.
anyway.
Right, they
Yeah.
changed anyway.
And that needs to be correct in the minutes if anybody looks back at it. That's
Right. And discussion wetland violation 5 Scott Road. Third sentence says, he said there was about 6 to 12 inches of new material on the peninsula. It was discussed how there could be that much material, but it says, but no be considered, but not be considered. So, and that's it, I think, for.
Anybody else got any omissions, corrections?
I had one thing that, under the discussion for 3 Westchester, it says the owner contractor was present to discuss what he had done in the backyard. I think, indicating that unplanned, maybe say unplanned cutting.
Yeah, unapproved.
Yeah, just to clarify what he, like, look what you did in the backyard.
Oh, you wanna see what else you did in the back?
Maybe. So that's all I had, other than the office thing that evidently Kyle can figure out. That's kind of-
No further omissions or corrections. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes of November 18th?
A motion to accept the minutes of November 18th, 2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Guess we gotta go back down. Continued public hearing of videos, no tent resource area delineation, 336-338 King Street, U19-38-01 and 38-1 Mass DEP file number 204-904 for approval of a wetland resource area delineation.
And another big one down that way. Now down to the little one, north. So we had submitted this plan previously at the last meeting before the peer review. I had given you an aerial overview as well, and we had sketched the ditches on that. And then when I submitted this plan with the corrections from the peer review, I didn't have the trench on there, so I've updated that and I'd given a PDF to Amy. So we've just called out that the trenches are approximate location and reference note 3 where they're taken from aerials, because we didn't survey locate those. Everything else has been survey
Right, we didn't
located.
say,
Yeah, no, I-
discussing
we
it,
didn't-
saying you can.
But I just want to make sure everybody
They're- yeah.
understands that, that note's on there.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, this has got the changed flags that were done with peer review. Added a flag, moved this flag, deleted this section and joined these two so that this is all part of the wetland, which was upland area. This is back by the pond where we walked through, and they decided that that was all wet through there, so there's an upland finger here and an upland finger on the back side of the pond there. And I think that's about it. Do you remember more than that?
That sounds about right, yeah.
Which flag moved 21 feet? That I had this copy and I couldn't see it on my
So
computer.
this flag right here moved out to here, and this flag was added.
Okay.
And then this flag back by the burn pile
Yeah.
went way out to here.
That's, okay. The text said one flag moved 21 feet, but I
Yeah,
couldn't,
I
I
gotta-
couldn't see the flag numbers
Yeah.
on my computer. Okay, thank you.
They don't- then you can't read 'em.
It's Adele. It still wasn't, yeah.
So
I couldn't get
how
Zoom.
many units or houses or whatever you propose?
This is just the RDA, the ANRAD.
No, but I just kind of,
Oh, how many units? We're looking, I think it's 24, 25, and they're all right up here. It's all
Yeah.
townhouse type thing.
They're all clustered around the existing,
Yep.
like the
existing
the main
houses are
house
staying.
stays. Oh, they both staying?
They're both staying. They're both staying. The barn is moving to another position. The dental wing of the house is, I think, holding on to the foundation and redoing on top of the foundation.
So do you, wastewater,
Excuse me?
wastewater,
Wastewater septic system?
yeah.
I was out there testing with Mr. Griffey today.
Yeah, I know you're not, it's just a curiosity.
This isn't within this sewer area of the town, is it? Would this be connected?
Yes and no.
I said, not at the moment, not in phase one.
Right.
no, but it is,
Subsequent
you got the
phases.
line coming
The line
down right
goes-
from the firehouse and the library.
Yeah, I've been in conversations with the town,
Line.
and I will continue to be in conversations.
Is that your preference?
We believe that the thing is self-supporting on its own, and it'll come down to a dollars and cents scenario.
So everything's clustered up front, and
The only thing they're looking to do in the back is walking trails and maybe some sort of seating to view
Yeah.
birds and stuff by the
Yeah.
pond.
yep, that's good.
Okay.
Do they plan to use any of this other property for some sort of a organic garden or something like that?
Hope so. We'll see, you know. They're definitely gardeners. Right now, we're trying to keep everything up in the corner.
I mean, I read through the peer review and, other than clarifying where that 21 foot line was and, so I'm prepared to agree.
So
with the
everything's
line.
on the plan now, riverfront area, potential bank, BVW. The floodplain is not shown on the map, but is referenced in the text, so
Right.
they covered everything.
Like
Have
to
we
make
got
a
any-
motion?
Have we got any riverfront that's down back?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right, it's on
This-
these
it's
two
that
lines
guy.
back here, right here,
Yeah.
you can see.
200
This is the
feet.
100 foot and this is the 200 foot.
Okay. All right, then. I know there's a brook that goes out of there. And
Yeah, it's, the
Goes down
the
like the
actual
Upton
brook is
house.
right about here, where my pen is. It's off the property.
November 2019,
Is there another date on these?
Yeah, you go up to the revision,
Yeah.
there's
Oh.
a second revision.
12/9/2019.
Want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the wetland resource area delineation for 336-338 King Street, U-193801 and 38-1. STP number 204904.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you all.
Yep.
If I don't see you, have a marvelous holiday season. See you in the next year.
Do you want these back or don't you need them?
You can have, you asked for two.
That actually should be pretty nice. Overall, I would think. It is, but stay like it is. Where's the dentist moving to?
We haven't figured that out. Nobody's.
I know his practice, he moved to Westford,
Is this classified as a low-income?
Cornerstone.
I don't know.
He merged with a.
He's 55 years old.
Maybe you still need that then?
Huh?
Maybe it's all
Yeah, I
going
think
that way.
the income percentage is
I
like
don't know his
20% or
house. He lives in his house.
For a 55
Income, yeah, the income control portion.
So that would,
I didn't realize he went to high school in Littleton.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it said the zoning's been put in place to help us.
Chucky Bush was telling me the whole.
Yeah, not be constantly chasing that.
request for certificate of compliance for Cardillo at Taylor Street, 204-725.
Yeah, they're not ready yet.
Okay.
Trying.
3 Winchester, 204-890, new deck.
Wait, what?
I did not have
When she said.
the heart to get too far on this one.
It already happened?
I went out there the Sunday before the snow, because I was driving around town before the snow, and I was like,
Yeah.
I must admit, I had noticed there's a door up there on the second floor, and I was kind of thinking, you might want to pass that down. You know, if he puts in a set of stairs, I'm not going to make a stink about it maybe, but he,
Wasn't this when she
No
came out?
stairs. Nope.
so,
Okay.
he said,
Is he gonna come talk to us?
Because I think that's what he was working on.
we went back and forth once, and then I just,
Okay.
so I don't know if you want to just haul him in.
I mean, it's,
Do it, I mean, it's pretty big. You know, he said he thought that he was doing a nice thing, that he looked at what had been done on Mill Pond, for that little red house,
oh,
where they're
uh-huh.
very close. He said,
Where they
yes,
did
it, and I'm going to tell you how many
extensive
times they were in here,
permitting
and they
for
did some
that?
serious mitigation
Mitigation,
all on the
yeah.
pond, and
Right.
So what are they, looking for after the fact permit to keep things the way it is?
I think he needs to come in.
Is that what,
Yeah,
is
he
that what
needs-
he's asking for after the fact?
He's not asking for anything yet. He was like, oh, I didn't know I needed a permit. Put it
How
that way.
close is it?
Oh, he didn't know?
It's the house,
Isn't
the
that
back of the
business?
house is
Dad
the
needs a
50.
No, I know, I'm
The
just,
50 goes right
Oh,
in the
really?
legend.
Yeah. It's in the 50s. It's a
What's he doing in all
permanent,
this?
it's a permanent structure, so I feel, he needs to come talk to us, and if, like,
It's all stone underneath.
yeah. he needs
Is
to
this
talk to us.
is this a out of curiosity, requirement for an egress for fire?
No, I don't think.
I don't think so, no. If it is,
A
he can
deck?
say so, but it's a lot more than just an
No,
egress.
because
It's
he's got a
Yeah,
front
the
door,
whole
and
deck,
there's-
not just the
There's a
stairway.
No,
garage,
but
there's
I
a back
mean-
door on the lower level, there's a lot of
Yeah, but
entrances.
is it off the second floor?
The new one.
I don't have a deck off my second floor. They jump out the window.
The one right here is filled in.
No, it's
Jump
over
out
here.
the window if I have a fire on my second floor. I have one of those ladder things.
Oh.
So
It wasn't part of the original design, it's a permanent structure. He just needs to come and talk to us.
It did,
The 50 is big.
I
The
approved
back
the
is
building
basically
permit,
50.
and then after I approved it, the
Back
new
right
plan, and that was the approved plan.
Yeah.
And then like right after that,
exactly.
they submitted more drawings,
They
and
just-
you dug
they
through
just
them,
do
you
this?
see a deck. I didn't dig through them and see a deck, and I already approved it,
'Cause he
so
came in.
I was done.
Because he cut down a couple trees.
Plans.
I'll tell them to come in January.
Plantings.
Okay.
And then they did
Personnel
this.
board, personnel board, Friday, December 20th at 9 o'clock.
Are you serious?
Does that have to do with the administrative assistant?
Wow.
Yes, yeah, so Julie said she can,
Yep, it's
Make
on my
it-
calendar.
It's kind
Yeah,
of
that's
blatant,
a-
it's
yeah.
kind of
Thanks.
blatant, isn't it?
Okay.
That was okay.
That starts
Until
at
they
9,
changed it.
but the agenda, I mean, I'm guessing it'll be heard probably 9:45 based on.
well, I don't know,
the-
Ann said that if
Which is
people-
also fine.
Ann also said that if people are sitting there, they will take them first before
Okay.
they get to the rest of the stuff.
Okay.
So now I have no idea if that's how that works in reality or not.
It's
but
fine, whatever it is
Yeah.
fine. I've blocked it out. So,
That's 9 AM, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, 9 a.m.
Yeah, that's
Crikey.
You don't want to be there, right? Come on, take a day off.
Nagard parcel vegetative management. Somebody gonna speak to that one?
Where'd that come from? They got,
It's on there.
It's in the administrative
version.
discussion.
yeah, look at that.
We tabled it again?
Funny. This is an old copy. Nago parcel vegetation management, yes, they were asking for more money, but I basically told them I can't, we have a budget, and so Conservation Trust is gonna cover it.
Okay. Point Basin 3, M pad, J pad?
They took a lot of sediment out of Basin 3, apparently, and they still have a little ways to go. The first time the
Full
guy...
to the brim.
Yeah, the first time the guy drove down there, he kind of got stuck.
Wait,
So-
where's Basin 3 again?
Basin 3 is the one that's kind of below the cinema,
Oh,
or like
Top.
downstream of the cinema.
oh,
On
on the right-hand side.
Yeah, so it goes like the cinema, the M pad, and then Basin 3
Okay.
is kind of down there, and then Basin 2 is further
Did
down.
that come from when they were taking all that fill out?
Yeah. So there was, he said there was more in there than in Basin 1, when they cleaned out Basin 1. So they're gonna be doing an as-built and coming back in.
Is that material gone now? Did they take
Yeah, it's
it
gone,
off?
it's off-site. The M pad is close to final grade, and the J pad, which is the one that's like kind of back behind everything.
When they were pulling material.
They're
out
working on
further.
that, which is mostly why I want to say that if you go up there and you see that they're cutting more trees, it was a permitted thing, so.
Yep.
That was just an update.
Now, the hotel that was supposedly almost going to be built there is totally off the table, right?
Not totally off the table, but pretty much.
Well, they need an amendment from us, and we didn't grant
Yeah,
that.
they need an amendment, well, more to the point, they need the treatment plant, and DEP's they've been having a hard time with DEP.
Oh.
And I
see
think they
that.
may have finally gotten it squared away, and the hotel just didn't want to get involved in that, so they're still in the wings, or another hotel's in the wings, so.
But they need
it
an
may-
amended order of conditions to
It
do
depends
a
when they come
hotel.
back in with a footprint,
Right, I guess that's true.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess, right, exactly.
Right, if they're
for
gonna change the footprint,
change.
they got an issue, yeah.
There's a ton of frag. I feel like it's just like at the bottom
Oh,
of
yeah.
that slope.
Yeah.
There's a ton, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Like, do they have a plan for that? Because that wasn't the case before this development
It's
was
just,
built.
it's just spreading, and I don't know, a lot of it's coming from 495, because on the other side of 495, and yeah, and
Blows
then
around.
when you, at the
Bad.
entrance, that was all Phragmites.
You have all this like turtle protection.
They did
turtle
3
stuff
years,
in there.
yeah,
Gonna
they
have
did
no
3 years of
habitat.
treatments in there, and that's what they were on the hook for, so.
I took a look around in the stormwater basin and like around the wetlands after the diesel spill, and I didn't notice anything. Did you get a call for that? There's a diesel spill at the point.
Quite a while, well,
No,
last-
it's
No,
not
like
there,
last
it's
week.
just- yeah.
No, last
days
week,
ago,
like
Saturday or
in the
something.
Rotary.
Oh, yes, yeah, I didn't go look, I got a call from the fire chief about it.
Figured you would have passed.
I think if I remember, I was having a hard time figuring out where he was talking about, but I think it was a Budweiser truck.
I don't know which truck it was, but it was like
They-
75
they-
gallons,
They
and
did
it
a rock
was
or
two
something over
locations.
at Groton.
Oh, and it
And-
just dragged it.
Yeah.
Yes,
There
it
were
was
two
at the entrance, it was at the
locations.
entrance and then on the road.
And at the Rotary, and I did see
Yeah,
some
yeah.
staining that led to the one storm drain, like kind of on the down gradient side of the roundabout, but
Yeah.
I didn't notice any sheen or anything.
Yeah, I was thinking the one that happened.
I just like
a
my
year or two
natural,
ago.
that's just naturally what I do. So-
I know,
Like,
exactly.
let me go look for sheen.
Was it diesel?
Petroleum. Is it?
Diesel?
Yeah, it's a 75-gallon diesel spill. So I was there anyways, and was like, yeah, I'm gonna go look at the stormwater piece. Yeah, that's gonna be- So, I wasn't sure, yeah, what you had. I figured you would have heard about it, and if there was anything significant, you would have passed it along.
I forget where I was when the chief called, and they said DEP is there, and everybody's calling everybody, and I was like, you don't need me in the middle of this.
Yeah, if it's not getting into
Yeah.
wetlands, and stormwater, navigable water.
Okay. Next meeting is on the agenda here. What do you got?
I didn't know how things were going tonight. You got a lot of stuff off the agenda, because we're not meeting until mid-January,
13th.
January 13th.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if there was going to be a need to try to get a December 30th meeting or not.
I won't be around.
Yeah, so, and I asked, the T couldn't make it in then, and, Matt Morrow, 5, so some people couldn't make it anyway. So I don't know if we probably don't need to clear the deck, so see you in January. Unless you want an extra one.
Other dates and administrative action.
I've got some real quick.
Yeah, go ahead,
Get
go
this off the
ahead.
table. This has been sitting at my desk a long time. We talked about, what's going on in this letter about the expansion of the Forest Legacy Program. And it turns out everybody was right, because we're partially in and we're partially out.
Oh.
So that's the mystery. So here's the old map, and Littleton is only partially covered, so the expansion request does make sense.
Yeah.
So we should say yes, because it's a good thing.
So, wait, how do we do that?
Call her back, or write the letter of support there.
Okay.
Like she's asking for.
So do we need a
It was so
motion
long
to
ago.
do that?
An update, I have been driving through my end of town, and I see that behind the little conservatory or minor court is all cleared, and somewhat of a parking area has been put in for that, I guess, some sort of a complex that's going in there. I don't know
Oh, I saw
exactly.
Yeah,
that near the
senior
high school.
housing.
Yeah.
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 And they've also, the same, I think Onyx is doing it down there, what I call Foster Kimball's property, is they put Jersey barriers up, that's the field property that they were,
9 Aaron.
two
Yeah, I
driveways.
saw that.
That they've been working on that. I think the two have to go hand in hand. is what
Yeah,
I
your
understand.
email missed me by like 10 minutes.
Oh.
Because I
The,
drove by there, I was looking at 5 Chestnut, I was looking at 9 Air. I was
Film
looking at
material
Clear.
that's coming out of
And I was on my way back to,
the film material coming out of one's going in the other.
Yeah, yeah.
that's right, I remember, yeah.
It's
That makes-
some real good gravel that's in Foster's place.
Yeah, newest
And
things on
that's
a bunch
going
of
over
sand and
there.
gravel.
Wait, so the minor corridor, is that near what area?
That's,
Yeah, Julie's question whether or not it was wet, I looked at it a while ago,
Okay.
and depending on what happens tomorrow, I'll take another look at it.
I was involved with planning for the athletic fields before alumni, and I had some fairly lengthy conversations with Chuck DeCoste and some others regarding that particular parcel and it being too wet to use for athletic fields. And so I live like behind the high school, and so I took a walk down through the high school property and like, it stayed on the high school, I didn't, and my neighbor's property. And so there's like speckled alder, I think some red maple, it could be sugar maple, but I can't tell this time of year. Bare ground, some kind of suspect flattening, and then it's like the whole cleared area.
Yeah,
And then like a massive puddle,
Right.
but to be fair, we just had 2 feet of snow, but it's in a bowl. There's really nowhere else for that, there's kind of a divide with the high school driveway, and there's really nowhere else for that water to go. So I am super I'm that there was nothing there if they didn't have trained eyes looking at it.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to question the intent or the best intent or whatever, but, there are areas that, you wouldn't know unless you are a wetland scientist.
There's some pretty black soil
or
that
had
was all
somebody look.
screened.
Yeah, or if you had somebody look, and I feel as though, a conversation should at least be had, and if they haven't.
I did a quick
Had someone look.
when
Yeah.
the building permit came in.
Yeah.
And it did see, it's like a little, not little, it's sort of a isolated depression
Yeah.
back in there, and it didn't raise my hackles, to put it that way, but I didn't
Yeah.
look real strongly at it.
But I mean,
Could
it's,
be vernal.
It could have been vernal pools though, or,
Yeah.
it's all
like-
done. I mean,
I'm just thinking, I know it's done, but I'm thinking like if it, are
Especially if they got
there
drainage to deal with.
frogs that were in,
Yeah.
they're like half frozen state and they can't get out of the way, or, I don't know. It just, there's a reason you're supposed to,
Is that the fields doing that too?
yeah, that's there.
Are they? Yeah.
The one next to minor court?
Yep.
Yeah.
that's theirs.
behind it. It's kind of behind it.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's,
the
We've
road's
also
gonna go
been in
in
the house
next to-
adjacent for a birthday party, the house to the right.
Yeah,
And there's definitely drainage coming down that
all the way
hillside.
through there, yeah.
So it's gonna be kind of hard to rectify. I mean, it was all done within a week's time.
Oh, I know.
Trees down and
I know.
well,
I could
they-
hear it. We were like,
stumped
what
in
is
the
that?
soil.
They probably wanted to get that gravel off.
Yeah. And that's excellent gravel.
Huh?
It's excellent gravel. It's in that hill. Okay.
Maybe that was the driving force behind that,
It-
those hill development,
Was.
was to get the gravel.
Yes,
And how can we,
yeah.
how can we get the gravel and develop at the same time?
Yes.
Amy, I had a
Okay.
question for you about some of the Mass DEP changes that are coming up. I
About the what?
About Mass DEP, I guess.
No, that's what I
they-
was gonna mention.
About like having to use EDP and stuff like that, or? I was just curious if that's what you're
Yeah,
gonna go
bring me
to.
into the
I
20th
know,
century.
that's-
mistakes. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, I guess that you'd have say, like,
Well,
give
it don't-
feedback on what.
I always refuse to do it when I was filing notice of intent, because that gets to be a hassle, but if
Sure.
you're just doing order conditions, it's a different thing for attachments. Yeah, so you guys may have seen this, there's proposed amendments, it is either to do with how an order conditions is issued and the butter stuff, so it's nothing really wildly important.
So electronic abutter notification type of thing?
No, it's clarifying that receiving notice of a notice of intent as an abutter does not automatically confer standing on that person to appeal orders.
Oh,
It's a legal thing.
okay.
And the other one is requiring conservation commissions to submit orders and determinations to the department through EDP, or if it's not possible, by certified mail, so that they know when things
They
are.
were, yeah, I guess
Because
there's
they
like
had-
receipts, there were no receipts of stuff getting
Yeah.
delivered, so people were.
Yeah, but he says there's gonna be somebody there to sign for him. That's the next question.
Oh, yeah, they'll have someone there to sign for it. But it was always hard, when does the appeal clock start?
Yeah.
If there is not a stamped envelope. Oh, they're gonna amend an outdated reference to the National Well Plant List.
Okay.
I still got 5 minutes I'm waiting
Oh.
on. So, anybody get an administrative action under that? Is there anything else that somebody needs?
Library might be coming in soon.
Who?
The library.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Clear the decks.
How close is that? Do you have any idea?
To the wetland?
It's-
Well,
Oh, good.
coming in.
Andrew flagged?
Oh, the one that I did?
You flagged it?
No, I didn't flag it.
Who did?
You did.
Did I hang flags?
You did, yeah, at the time.
Jeez.
But for some reason, everybody thought that I did it. I don't know why.
I did too. It was all total slope stuff anyway. Well,
It's right on the other side of the fire road, right? It's
Yes.
basically where the
Yeah,
wetland is.
yeah. So they're doing work on the fire road.
Yep.
And, I mean, they're gonna be in the 50-foot and certainly the 100-foot.
How much is existing of that road? There's a road that comes along there
Right.
on the bottom down there, always has been.
Yep.
Is it beyond that, or is that gonna be pretty much?
All the work is
Is that
uphill about
funded
it.
at the library? Are they getting,
Just lots of stormwater.
are they getting grants?
Stormwater's under the parking lot. I've only seen like preliminary
Yeah.
plans. They're still not quite sure what they're gonna do.
Start thinking about
If
that.
you're
It's like-
looking on the right side of the building in terms of a walkway to get around to the bottom of the thing, or where there's gonna be walls, and
Great location.
we're going back and forth of what's gonna get mowed, what's not gonna get mowed.
Oh,
I'm still
yeah.
trying to get a pollinator garden in there,
They
but
get-
Yeah.
they have
nobody has any money.
Next to the high school.
But what are they gonna do for parking? I mean,
Well, the library's already here.
Yeah.
Problem is, that's gonna get full of something eventually, so they're gonna have to do a parking count, a
does
full
that
bill.
mean the tennis court's gonna go?
Tennis court's staying.
Although there's also a
They're
lot of
cutting into the hill a
unused
little bit.
space there.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you got that access that the ex-fire chief put in to go down the hill and be able to go across.
yeah, that'll stay.
Park at Russell Street and walk up.
They should figure out how to do it.
And
Yeah.
the landscape architect says that they can dig out the knotweed, and he said, and just seed it. And he says, it always works. I was like,
In what universe?
so he and I are going back there, just come into the Conservation Commission, you had that discussion. To bring pictures.
It was that easy,
Said, well, yeah,
you know.
sure, if you mow it.
Is he digging to like 40 feet?
Yeah.
I mean, that might work.
Yeah, right.
Did he specify how deep?
So,
Where's he gonna move it to?
Well, yeah,
You're
that's
right,
my
yeah.
other.
that too.
You just put a little roundup on the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can inject it at the right time of year.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do this past summer, but
Yeah.
again, no one could
Yeah.
get it going. Could it be good to start treating it ahead of
Yeah.
time?
I guess we can do the 8:30.
Yeah.
Mary Shepherd, notice of intent, 12 Mary Shepherd, U03-2-6, Mass DEP file number 204-902. After the fact, permit for work in the riverfront area and buffer zone. Good evening. Good evening. See us from David Ross.
here on behalf of Kevin Conover and Dan Wolf from my office. For Mr. Shazenko. 12 months. This is the one where we're showing replanting of the 5,000 square foot area. And I guess Dan had talked to you about the park-like plantings.
The numbers, right, so you move the fence more,
Right.
and then, so it's kind of still behind, the old shed.
So the plantings, the plantings are in the front and
So on the wild
Looks like
side of
24
the fence,
feet.
it'll be go native, obviously, they can still, cut if they need to, or control invasives or tree falls. But
Yeah.
on the other side, it will probably be mowed with clusters of
Right,
of
like
various.
park, right, and that's what we talked about in the last meeting, was to retain some of the park-like stuff. And it looks like the fence is moving 24 feet?
right here, and then about 40.
40 over there.
feet
Okay,
kind
yeah.
of.
So the area of that is about 5,000 feet then, is that what?
Yes,
The remaining,
and that's where we did all the plantings. This little dashed line kind of goes around the gazebo, and then
so that's your,
kind of the entire backyard now.
That's quite significant.
yeah.
So if I remember, I think you've only got like 2 or 3 species in the house side of things.
We got 3. We got all 3 species.
Which are?
Red maple
Red maple, high bush, blueberry.
and the flowering dogwood.
Which are just 3 species that I think were mentioned.
Right.
Obviously, if you want to do more, or stuff that's more attractive but still native, if the commission's willing, we can work with that, or we can just stick with that, but.
Now, do you have a list of something that we could go off of too?
Yeah, I thought I didn't print out that email, but I just came up with a quick list of,
Yeah, we can.
all sorts of stuff. I mean, you can plant hickory trees,
Okay.
Pussy willow.
Yeah, pussy willow. Hang on,
I mentioned I'm partial to evergreens and white birch, but I'm concerned about it being free from disease or whatever.
Oh, do a river birch then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Be better for you there.
Yeah, river birch. It's pretty pest and disease free, good for the riverfront.
It won't be white, that's all.
Yeah.
I know that's what you're looking for. I know that's what you're looking for.
Bittersweet, okay?
It won't be white.
I heard there's beautiful orange berries in
I
it.
believe that.
Well, there is a native bittersweet.
I knew that's what you're looking at.
I wish my backyard looked like that.
They don't last long.
No, it won't
The
do
white
well down
birch
there.
don't
No.
last long.
So, do you have any proposed order of conditions or anything?
I wasn't sure if you wanted to try to condition this for timing somehow. Because right now, when you're looking to put in the garage shed, is that going to have to wait till the spring at
If
this
it could be
point?
done this winter, it would be, favorable to do so, because we're paying storage
Right.
on it where it is now. But that all depends on weather.
The pad's
Can
done
the
though,
fence-
right? So
Yeah, the pad is done, but it's
do you have to construct
getting
it
a
or just
crane, and
move
no,
it?
it's a crane
It
to
is a
come in
crane.
and set it into
Yeah.
place and things like that, so.
Can the fence be moved
okay.
now? Now-ish, like in coordination with?
All depending on
the shed?
frost.
Frost
too.
ground.
There's no frost right now, but with snowfall and everything else,
How
it's
quick-
gonna get cold at some
Single
point.
digit.
How
Digits
quick
tomorrow
can you
night.
do it?
What's that?
How quick can you move the fence? Or you gonna
Lining
give
up
us
the contractor to do it.
Okay.
We have one on standby, but we have to work within his schedule also.
There's, after the snow tonight, there's a very light, the ground's lightly frozen. It's soft underneath, I
Oh,
know
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
That with the snow would keep it insulated
Yeah.
for a period of time.
Yeah, we get a real cold spell, it's gonna
We are
That
getting
is
single digits.
really slow us down in that.
Wednesday night and
Yeah.
Thursday night are single digits.
And it's just working within his schedule to get him out to do it. Now, as far as any of that work, you're gonna require any hay wattles or things for the fence installation, or the moving the fence?
Would you, are they set in concrete? How are they?
I
in
would
there?
assume that it's a chain link, so I would assume the existing
So
posts are in
would you
concrete.
dig them out or just cut them?
We might have to take them out.
Yeah.
It's not, I remember when they were putting in, they were digging with,
Postal
stickers?
yeah, so it was, I guess, that wide of a hole.
You remember if they put cement in?
I think they did.
Yeah, so there could be
Keep it
holes.
right,
of
Yeah, it seemed pretty sturdy
Yeah.
when we were
But
out there.
it's not like, backhoe type of holes.
And that's typical with
Right.
chain link installation, you always put
Yeah.
cement around the posts.
There was, someone mentioned that they wanted the fence taken down before, as part of the order of conditions, before we would approve the building permit
Okay.
approved. But I don't know about your wildlife that you're trying to keep out.
Mm.
No, that would be, I mean, one thing I can suggest is, put in the new fence in parallel with the removal of the old.
Because they have dogs, right? You have dogs you need to keep in the yard.
Yeah, that's.
So we don't-
So are
so
you
we don't
not
want no
relocating the
fence.
existing fence? You're putting in a new fence?
Well, some of it's damaged from
Yeah, the tree.
one of the
Some
trees that
damage.
fell on it.
Yeah.
It's almost 60 feet of it's already damaged.
Yeah, it's like in the middle.
So a lot of it would have to be replaced anyways.
So
So by
actually,
putting in the new one and then removing the old one after the fact, would take care of that issue there.
As long as you can get access to it.
Yeah, I think most of the work
On the
is
fence
the,
yourself.
what do you call it, the poles.
What's that? The posts, yeah.
Posts, that's the most work, I remember once they put the posts, it went fairly
I mean,
quickly.
and if that's, even if you can get the new fence in as soon as possible and just take down the link fence, and take the posts out in the spring or something if you have to.
Yeah.
Okay, we could
Yeah,
do
that's
something
true.
like that.
Or at least get rid of that barrier.
Mhm.
The chain link will come down easy enough. You
Yeah.
don't need to wait for weather on that.
Yeah, that you can snip through.
Like January, wear really heavy gloves to.
Yeah, that's.
But you'd still need to somehow get equipment back to the old fence?
Get access to.
To remove it, it would be, a lot of that could be done, it's a lot of handwork, but it could be done that way. I
Yeah.
don't see any
All right.
need for any
Or
equipment.
take out a
in it.
gap of the
Yeah,
right.
new fence,
Leave a gap
if you
in
need
the
to.
New fence or something.
Yeah.
chop saw.
Yeah, that's what we would do, is just cut it right up.
Yeah, I assume there's no issue with leaving the concrete in the ground, it's not.
As long as it's there, right? It's already done there.
Yeah.
Just cut it below grade, so
cut it
nobody
after.
gets hurt on it.
Yes.
Yeah, normally it is a couple inches below anyways.
Put a little dirt on top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably less destructive than trying to dig them all out.
Or
Right.
dig them out and stick a tree in it.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah, that's in the bittersweet
It's probably
area. right
compact,
there.
I know.
You would normally
Yeah.
want a much bigger hole for a tree.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
trying
Something I learned from a guy
Should see.
that does tree work or does spading and stuff. If you want a tree to last, you spread the roots out in all directions.
to, yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
You just don't do a trench and,
Do trench toss them in,
Yeah.
yeah.
so what's your pleasure, folks?
Jim needs to do oversight on the planting.
So do you want to condition timing somehow?
I think that makes sense.
For planting that many trees.
Well,
I
the
would think
planting's gonna
it's-
happen.
Yeah, the planting's
planting's
actually
gonna be
during
in
the
the spring.
planting season.
That-
Yeah.
And I don't even know if you could find
But
the
if-
trees right now.
Yeah.
If you wanted to tie the fence
Yeah.
part of it, at least,
Yep, I think that makes
get
sense.
that done.
And then
Tie it to what, though?
The building permit for the
Oh,
garage.
oh.
Like, if at all possible, would it be fair to say you'd like to see the new fence in? If at all possible.
Mhm.
And
You can take the other one out
Well, at
later.
least the fence, the chain link fence removed. Putting in the new one and not removing at least the link fence of the old one. to do
Yeah.
anything good.
Yeah, we could put the new one in and then take the other one out.
Yeah.
I'm okay with, we could do that.
Although,
Weather,
would it-
I don't know how you're
if
gonna
you
do
have
it.
to plant in the
Weather,
spring after you do the fencing,
how you gonna get in there,
How are you
Paul?
gonna
Well, we could leave a section where we could
Yeah, like-
roll it back and then put it back in.
Currently,
Okay.
there's like a,
Right.
but,
Would you put a gate in it?
yeah, currently there are gates, but I don't know if it's wide enough for.
It wouldn't be wide enough for equipment, and it all depends on the size of what we're gonna, of the plant material we're gonna put in there. A lot of the work, if we can go to the smaller variety or smaller sizes, we can do by hand.
Yeah, I think we were saying 2-inch, was that right? For a tree anyway? 2-inch caliper? Or is that?
You know, a lot of it we could do by hand in the spring.
Yeah, and like you said, you can roll back to when you're ready
Section of
to
the new.
do it all, you know.
Yeah, and then just
Do it all at once.
string it back. So.
You, how many you have like a few dogs, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess one thing that I think, Polly should think about with respect to planting, like the park trees within the fence, are trees that are big enough that will withstand, you know, like leg lifting and,
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
Yeah,
it doesn't, it's a waste of time and money and
Mhm.
Yeah,
everything else. So just, you know,
Yeah, my concern was the
use your
dogwoods.
professional judgment on that. Dogwoods,
Yeah, they tend to like the dogwoods.
Oh.
For a dogwood is like catnip for a cat.
Yeah, something.
Well, you can switch out species. I think just, let's just, you know.
Put
approve it.
hawthorns, they have thorns on them.
There you go. Can't get something from the bottom.
Because I never heard that.
Now, what about, since that is your property still behind that fence, I mean, maybe it would be good to have a permanent, even one of those rolling gates that can let, you know, let a
Bigger.
larger thing through.
It sounds like so there are gates in the existing one.
Yeah, there are gates in the
Yeah.
existing.
Might make sense to
Small,
mirror
they're
that
like man gates though, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they are, I don't know, what, 3
Probably
feet
4
wide?
feet, yeah.
Just a foot.
And we could put gates back in it if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could
Sure,
take,
that's fine.
There's
take
no
2
opposition to that.
4-footers and put them,
You could do a double, one
Yeah.
double.
Yeah, double.
Yep.
which would give you 8 feet.
Yeah,
But I would,
No, I don't have any issue with
okay.
I suppose there's no reason you couldn't put high bush blueberries or something on the other side.
Mhm.
Yeah, they have a planting plan on both sides.
Yeah, let's put the dogwoods on this side.
Well, sure.
Get coyotes.
So,
And they'll, I assume, a 3-year monitoring plan,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
just make sure stuff lives.
Make sure they survive.
Mhm.
Oh, that is the whole idea.
Okay, well,
So what,
make a motion?
yeah. You want to make it?
Okay, make a motion to issue an order of conditions, am I doing this right? Wait,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
For 12 Mary Shepherd, U032-2-6, Mass DEP number 204902, with, conditioned on, or on the timing where, the fencing will be done prior to the issuance of the building permit for the shed, is that right?
At the same time.
Or done at the same time as the building permit?
Well, before, because I can't.
Before?
Yeah.
But that, the plantings could be done anytime after that?
Approval, my sign off, yeah.
By next spring.
Right, yeah, plantings will be done when it makes sense to plant.
Yeah.
Right, I'll second that.
Can you hold 1 second? Did you have any comments? I'm sorry.
I was hoping to get a summary of what you've decided. I've just got some notes from my wife who was here the last time. My name's Philip Goddard, by the way, from 17 Mary Shepherd Road. I was here 2 meetings ago. It sounds to me like you've asked for a recommendation to reclaim 5,000 square feet of the lost forest and a movement of the fence.
Everything except
Yeah,
5,000
we're-
square feet.
Oh, everything
So
except
it's
5,000.
17, 10, 12? I can't remember
It's
what.
like 12,000.
I think it was 12.
Yeah, okay.
12,000 square feet?
Yeah.
Reclaiming.
That much?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So you're reclaiming 12,000 square feet, you're moving the fence, and then
Plantings.
you're going to monitor it for 3 years, is that it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're issuing a building permit conditional to
The
what?
fence being
Fence
moved
being
first.
I would,
Fencing moved first.
I need to sign off on the building permit, so I won't sign until.
Until the fence is
Until at
been-
least the fences.
Okay, and check.
The new fences, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last question I have is, what's the process so we know how to do this properly? You come in with the plans first?
Yes.
Are you trying to, if you need to do something with your house, you call Amy first and make sure you don't run afoul of our
Anyway.
regulations?
Okay, so it shouldn't be a mystery to anybody, right? Okay.
The
Well,
200
I mean,
foot
they're-
riverfront area is a tough one sometimes because the resource is so far away,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not unusual for people not to
Not to realize.
realize that it's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
Yeah. And that's why they're wetlands consultants and engineers. You see all these people coming in with the applicant because the regulations, usually for a project or, people are supported. So I think people run afoul fairly, not, we see, a handful of people monthly who just weren't aware.
They just don't know.
Yeah, who just weren't
It's too far away,
aware.
like you say.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for people not to be aware.
Okay, and it sounded like there are trees going on both sides of the fence that's
Yes.
being moved?
Yes.
Okay, so where's the fence being moved to then?
do you want to take a look at that?
Yeah.
The original, the old shed they have up there
Here's the
still?
fence now.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They're gonna move it up here.
Oh, I see, so right behind the existing.
Yeah.
On your side, right, that's 40 feet.
Okay, and then
Yep,
the,
40 feet up here and about 24 feet behind the shed.
So
okay,
all
and
the
then
planting is what we consider
all of this?
part of the buffer.
And then
All planted.
all of this? I see,
Planting all
okay. Oh, wow, that's terrific.
So the stuff
That's
on the
terrific.
house side of the fence will be, we've been calling it park-like, for lack of a better word, so it'll be planted up with some trees and shrubs,
Yeah,
but they'll still be mowing it, if they want to, or they can let it go wild, but,
terrific,
yeah.
terrific. Okay, and that's, okay, so that's a total of 17,000 square feet.
12.
12,000. 17 was impacted, 12 is being reclaimed. The Riverfront Act there's like a 5,000 foot threshold, and then you get into doing habitat assessments and all sorts of other work, basically, to demonstrate your impact.
Okay.
So somebody.
Are we going to see you in a couple of weeks?
I hope not. I hope not.
If you're planning a project? Okay.
All I do is make sure trees don't hit my house, that's all.
Yep, no, then fair enough.
Okay, no, thank you very much, I appreciate you explaining that to me.
Okay.
No problem.
Somebody.
I think,
we need to-
was there any fine associated with doing this the wrong way?
They had to pay the
Just
application.
filing for the notice.
Filing fee.
Okay, so no fine, okay. Thank you.
Lots
So
of-
the commission does have the power to issue fines and penalties, which, don't tell me if I'm speaking for you, usually aren't assessed unless the applicant is being really intransigent.
I see.
And plus, they're paying for all of the planting and the moving of the fence and stuff, so.
I see.
Yeah, I don't know that we've levied a fine. We've had quite a few get to enforcement stage, and it's, yeah. Yeah, usually people, it's, weren't aware and that they've run afoul and are working with us in good faith to make it right, and, we use our discretion.
And that was the,
Yep.
totally the case here.
Yep.
Totally unaware of what happened.
Yep,
And we're trying to right the wrong. so.
right. And you're, coming back when you say you're going to and providing the materials you say you're going to, and that makes a difference. And
As long as everything moves along the way
Yeah.
we've
you're just
laid it out.
working in good faith.
Yeah, and as long as,
Yeah.
again, as far as fencing goes, as long as we can do it with the weather, we'll get it done.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
So I made the motion.
go ahead.
I made the motion
Oh.
already.
Did you second?
Second?
I'll second it.
He wants
All-
to do
I
it
did
again.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Bye.
So I hope everybody has a happy holiday.
Boy, my to-be signed file's getting smaller here. This seems to keep building up, week after week, it's just getting fatter.
I know, we gotta
Looking for the
Have
sticks
enough
here.
food.
Yes, I do.
this.
So who should I contact with the order conditions? Do you want me to send it to you? The original has to go to the registry of deeds.
Right. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. How are we gonna move? Use up 10 minutes.
Hey, Amy, did you receive anything submitted as required we had asked for very specific things to be submitted
He said, how should I put this? Do you guys want to request a notice of intent from him for this work?
Yeah.
Because he's preparing it.
Yeah,
Well,
we-
that was an informal discussion, Matt.
It
but,
was
you
an
know,
yeah.
but, so.
What are you talking about? Which?
5
for what?
Scott.
Oh, 5
So
Scott.
are we allowed to?
He said,
Maybe the site walk.
requesting to be continued to the next meeting. I had changes made to the plan, and I'm awaiting them.
I think filing an NOI saves an enforcement because they were, but I think,
Yeah.
the challenges with getting information to discuss will be solved with an NOI.
I will confirm with him the filing deadlines for the January 13th meeting, whenever that is.
Okay.
I have a technical question.
Yes?
People find it beneficial, I just find myself kind of trying to orientate myself in the town as we have these discussions. If we bring in a computer, can we just plug it in and have it show the properties? So you're just geographically oriented?
I was looking to even.
I have every now and then
Oh, like Google Earth on
put the
that?
filing up there.
That's a good
I don't think
idea.
they replace that. That screen's terrible.
Oh,
It's got-
that's true.
Do you
The
have,
highway theoretically is going to be printing a big road map.
do
Then I
we
can
have
s-
like something
dig
that
in here?
shows our areas, our resource areas? Because
No.
I was just gonna go like assessor
At least where
parcels
the heck
and
the
stuff,
streets
just to
are.
see where things
Yeah.
are, because I find myself a lot of time just being like, that's where again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it.
And I just want to see if I'm the
I
only
think it's
one.
farther down the road.
Yeah, you know.
Or if
Yeah,
there's
no,
no
you're the
house
only
there.
one.
No, you're not the only one.
Okay. So maybe for 2020, I'll bring in a laptop and just set it here, because since I got the cord right here.
Yep.
And then if it works, it works, and if it doesn't,
Yeah, I mean, we could try it.
Yep.
It's just Google Earth versus like trying to read maybe.
I can back you up with like a plot size of the town too, but, like.
Or you can go into Littleton GIS
Yeah.
and
If
you
that
can
doesn't come out clear enough.
get up the different
Because I could
layers.
bring in my plans that I have of Littleton from
pre-495.
Those
Yeah.
are good condition, don't be moving those around.
All right.
You should see the pictures I had of Taylor Street when it was a dirt road. I found those on top of one of the filing cabinets.
Do we have a large plot printer?
Yeah.
actually,
Why can't
But
we-
Chris Stoddard down at Highway said he's got one, basically a road map. It doesn't, show the lots and everything like that, that he's supposed to print for Nina. And I said, oh, can I have one of those too? So,
actually, the Conservation Service gave us a folder with pictures of all segments of the town to the size of that screen. I don't know what happened to them, but we did get them at one point, and there's also a box of ones that are about yay big,
oh, there, yeah.
that would have, if you knew
The
which
the stereo pairs, the
segment,
aerials, yeah.
segment you were looking at. Let's see, we did 8:45, we can still, discussion of potential wetland violation, 5 Scott Road.
Wait, but it's
That's
continued.
Let's continue, okay.
Is it an old one?
No, I had it marked off.
Oh.
And it was just, my finger was in the way.
It happens.
So we still got, open it for Crestview. Somebody gonna speak for Crestview?
Well,
But it's
still
early.
6 minutes. There are butters here,
Yeah.
so I feel like we should probably wait. So we don't have to start over.
What else? I'm gonna get a bulletin board and a table put in the hallway for us.
Really? A table?
To put out, yeah,
Oh.
little things.
Oh, like that, like that one?
Yeah.
Oh.
They said, well, you can have that one. I said, no, I want it on this side, because nobody comes down that part of the hall, so.
Yeah.
I was looking at the door tags. Do we even have our office labeled? Because I see that it says like ZBA and like another, but I don't see conservation.
Oh, yeah, it is up there.
Is it up there? Okay.
Shelley was, it's not like I've got people streaming in, so it's, really.
I don't know, you've been pretty busy when I've been here, down during the day.
Yeah, no doubt Amy's busy during the day.
Cloverdale get the parking lot? I couldn't tell with all the dirt.
Yeah.
It's not finished.
I see they got the sign up.
The grading.
Yeah, the sign's up, the kiosk is up.
Yes, it's,
The parking lot is never got, as far as I never got the final top grindings piece of it. They ran out of time, so. I heard someone's plowing it.
Yeah, I saw it was cleared.
Somebody's been.
Yeah, I meant to
Cleared.
double check with Chris. I said, okay, someone's plowing. I don't
Oh,
want
in the
them
dirt?
screwing up before they.
It's the tree hunt is
Yeah, it's kind of a
going,
tree
so
hunt.
everybody's asking like, oh, I can't,
Get
you know, can't get in or can't
Oh,
park. Yeah. So
Can't get
there's a
that
lot
final
of,
check mark. Huh?
lot of action.
Votes and budget.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
see the importance of access to.
I see the Harvard Road parking lot gets quite a bit of use.
Yeah. That one's
seems to me-
really busy.
And the only one that we haven't see, I don't see get much use is the Reed. The one down at Reed
There's a
Meadow.
Bobcat parked in there right now. That's not ours yet. The conservation restriction is just, I don't know, in limbo. Sherry Gold hasn't finished it yet. So technically, that's not ours yet. But there's a Bobcat sitting on it. If it's there too much longer, I was gonna say, that shouldn't be parked there, but.
I don't think the Mary Shepherd parking lot gets a lot of use.
No, I think people have forgotten that it's even.
It needs, we have a sign for it, we ran out of time to put it up, but the trail has been mowed, that field has been mowed.
Yeah, I think people think it's a DOT storage sites. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's too bad, it's not a loop
It's the one I
trail.
think it is, it looks like it's a lot of material, just keeps getting dumped there.
They were using it when they were redoing the
Most
bridge,
of the stuff is out of there now,
It's-
it's just flat.
and I just asked them to make it nice when they left, which they did.
It's a nice lot now. I mean, with the proper
Yeah.
signage, people would be in
Yeah.
there.
Signs are important.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't vote. I'm just hanging out.
Doesn't matter.
If you get one, you have to become a commission member next time there's an opening, so.
You know, what would be good at that Mary Shepherd lot if there's a way to connect over to the Westford Conservation Land. I'm not sure if you can or not. If you could, that opens up a whole new world.
That would be amazing.
It goes
Yeah.
over the Audubon.
Yeah,
land.
absolutely. Or even make it into a loop, but it's all wetland where you do the loop.
But that would be amazing.
Oh,
Watch.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
God,
Because that goes right up to the horse farm, I
goes to
think, is that
Kennedy,
right?
goes
Yeah.
over the Kennedy Pond, and it's just like, you could probably make your way to Nagog.
That-
Hadn't you talked to Westford about?
Yeah,
Something.
I mean, the Emmett land is huge over there, and if we
Huge.
could access it, I mean, it would be crazy. But
What's the land called?
the Emmett conservation land.
Yeah, it's huge.
Oh yeah, it's
But they don't abut, right?
they don't.
Yeah.
There's the horse
I
farm
was just,
between. And,
yeah, I don't know if there's a sliver that may connect. I'm not
Does that go all the way to like Nara and Acton?
It could.
yeah,
It's all
It
kind of
could.
back, yeah.
It could.
it goes
Mega
to like
trail.
Goes to, like Bobby's Ranch uses it.
Yeah.
Bobby's Ranch uses the conservation land.
But right now there's like a bridge on the Bobby's Ranch side that's like so dilapidated that you can't even like get over it. So they're working on that, but
Or someone's working on it?
somebody's working on it.
Yeah.
It's still wishy-washy, but it'll get done.
Is it Westford's working on it?
Westford, yeah.
Like the town or
It's town property,
conservation? Seems
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Westford's having some major budget issues from
With
what
the
I
school
can tell.
department, yeah.
Well, and seems like other stuff.
I mean, if you could get some easements, I think if you could look at the big picture and
Yeah.
develop
Oh, yeah.
develop some easements behind people's properties.
Well, I think you guys have looked at it, Rick's LCT has looked at it.
Yeah, it's,
I don't think the horse farm there was really into it.
I could see them not being interested
The
in
horse
having
farm
like
isn't
people
interested.
just filing
Yeah.
next to,
Go on the outside of the farm.
people aren't respectful of horses sometimes or aren't aware and
but it'd be great.
speak of horse.
Who's that owned by?
Could see that not being desirable.
Yeah, nothing in it for them, basically, other than
Yeah.
being
Right.
not a good neighbor, but, yeah.
I think we got 9.
Just don't stay on the horse farm.
Continued public hearing,
You ready?
notice of intent Crestview, Boxborough Road, RO 5-9-A, RO 5-2-19, RO 5-2-20, Mass DEP file number 204-878, proposed shared driveway for 2 single-family houses in intermittent stream crossing.
Although hasn't this changed to one?
Yeah, it just has the original, I
Yeah, it
should
has
change
the-
it, yeah.
It's a hidden gem. It's like my own private conservation. It's amazing.
Like a low-C.
Yeah, we should.
Well, good evening. Neil Gorman from David Ross Associates, representing the property owner of the Home Scout LLC. And I know we've continued this for a few months here. Wanted to touch base with you, kind of give you an update of what we've been working on. And I provided Amy with a revised progress print at this point, because we know we still have to finalize the drainage, but the applicant, under our recommendation, had hired Goddard Consulting to do the hydrological study of the hillside, and he also did a habitat study on the property and submitted a report, which I just provided you a copy, and I thought maybe I'd let Dan Wells from Goddard Consulting, who did the report, kind of fill you in on what he found out there.
Go for it.
All right, good evening. So Neil had mentioned the commission had some questions about whether there were some seeps or ditches that, I guess, because of the real steep topography, maybe a question of something that was beyond what was flagged as the wetland resource area boundary was actually coming down the slope, and maybe that would have been a concern for the design of the driveway. So I went out, Neil and I went out on November, early November, and we chose conveniently, it was a morning where there had been a pretty heavy rain overnight, and so it would have been certainly, if there was any kind of seeps or whatever, any kind of visible hydrological channels, we certainly would have noticed the leaves kind of being displaced. So I kind of just walked transects along the steep slopes, and especially, in the area where the driveway is proposed, and there's no evidence at all. There was no leaves displaced, no channels. So that was so for that part, I was pretty confident that there's nothing. I think the resource areas are accurately identified. There's no other, I don't see any concern of interrupting the driveway, interrupting any of those kind of features. And so Neil can tell you what he did, but simultaneously he was looking at digging into the soil, seeing what the soil was telling us about where the driveway's going to go, and the groundwater level. So from my perspective, I feel like the wetland resource areas are accurately delineated. There's no issues with additional seeps or streams. So I also, on top of that, I just looked at the areas where the work is proposed in the buffer zone and resource area, and coming up with some ideas for additional mitigation that could, so for example, you can see on the plan there's a couple of existing stone walls that will get removed, and so what I suggested is take those stones and kind of relocate them, make them into kind of natural piles, rock piles, small mammal.
Check dams?
Well, that's another idea, but I was thinking more for habitat for small mammals and amphibians and reptiles. So that would be, I think the applicant's willing to consider, kind of stockpiling any of those sections, and we can come up with a plan of exactly where to relocate those. So that's one thing I noticed. There's some areas where there's some tall dead trees that if they have to get cut, I think relocating them, kind of using them as large woody debris cover objects for salamanders and small mammals. So, and those can also kind of lay along the slope in areas where there's not a lot of vegetation. So I'd recommend trying to stockpile any especially dead trees that have to get cut in the buffer zone. One I had noticed is just outside the buffer zone, but right up on the edge of this stone wall. So that was another thing I noticed, and particularly I don't know if all of you have walked it, but there's multi-floor rows, in buckthorn all over this wetland. And so there's some additional, I think, it would be too big a task to do the whole thing, but I think sections, especially adjacent to where the actual BVW alteration is, to do some management and removal of that invasives, and not necessarily, I don't think plantings in those areas necessarily, because I think just removing the multiflora rows and the buckthorn, the natural stuff is likely to spring back pretty quickly. There's a lot of dense fern, native fern cover in those areas. So I think there's a lot of additional mitigation that can be incorporated into this project. Neil has shown some additional planting areas. He's shown in green.
Yeah.
And that's an improvement from the last version. So I think what we're concluding, well, I'll let Neil get into what he saw with the soils, but from my perspective, there's not a lot of resource area impact, provided that all the drainage is done properly that Neil will describe, but and there's opportunities to mitigate for this alteration on top of just replicating the wetlands impact. And I would note also that I did take a look at where it's proposed for the mitigation of the BVW, and that's at a 3-to-1 ratio. So, and this seems like a very logical, suitable place to do that. It's kind of at the bottom end of it's not going to be real visible from the road, and it's right adjacent to the wetland. There's a lot of, I think this was kind of man-made. There's a lot of boulders there, I think. So when Crestview was created, a lot of that just kind of rubble got pushed into the wetland. So I think that's a good location for it. So,
Aren't there a lot of trees there though too?
There's
excavating trees.
In here, there's a lot of young pines.
Yeah, it's mostly white pine, not all, so.
Not very old. When I was out there, while he was doing his evaluation, I was performing some soil probes in the midst of the driveway. So those pink dots that you see here are some of the probes that I hand dug. I'm a Title V soil evaluator licensed with the state, so I do know how to evaluate for groundwater. And I also brought some samples of the soil. I don't know, I'm kind of a show and tell kind of guy. But
all right,
these are from 2 of the holes. What you'll find is that it is pretty gritty and coarse, not as silty. A little silty, but not too much of the clay. Yeah, the dust, but there's a lot of coarse material in there as well. I was down about 3.5 to 4 feet. Yeah, and that was all hand dug.
We're using
get a machine in
auger,
there.
I'm assuming?
Hand shovel.
Oh, shovel, okay.
So you shovel down.
3.5, 4 feet in a hole. It's about 18 or 20 inches.
I'd have to do a lot of fence posts. I would have to measure that hole.
All right, you want to come see me dig and dance on me dig? But yeah, I was down, I mean, again, we dig percolation test holes at a similar depth. That's a daily thing we have to do for septic designs, so I'm not adverse to hard work. There was no way we could get a machine in there, obviously, so we had to do it by hand. But I spent a good part of the day in there. So my evaluation is they are consistent with what the soil mapping is, which is kind of a loamy sandy loam right on that crest of soil texture.
No, sorry, where would these holes start?
Those are right along in the middle of the driveway where the pink holes are.
Oh, where the pink brown things
The pink little symbols there is where I dug those. One was just uphill of the
Don't go that far.
uphill of the stone wall where it breaks through the stone wall, and another one about mid-slope, and another one down towards the bottom where it curves around. And on this plan, I have added all the soil evaluation holes performed on the site, the ones that I performed by hand, plus the ones in where we're proposing a stormwater area. Those holes were originally tested for a septic system. So those evaluation holes were all done per Title V. Those holes were witnessed in addition by the health agent. And those holes were dug down at least 8 feet or so. So, and percolation tests were performed. No, with a machine back when they did the soil testing for the steps. Yeah, no, I didn't do those. Those by hand, but the ones along the 5 along the the area 6 there, I did those. So that gave me a little more confirmation that even though we're cutting into the hillside by a foot to 2 feet at the most with our driveway and swale work, the groundwater is evaluated deeper than that. So I don't believe I'm digging into the groundwater table for those areas.
So your prior assessment said that groundwater was shallower in the hillside, so are you,
Right, that was
so
just-
this has changed
This has changed
from
a little
your
bit, yes.
prior, okay.
And with the official test holes, yes. But we were still, our original driveway design was only cutting into the hillside about a foot or two. So
Yep,
what I
I remember
evaluated is
that.
the groundwater's deeper than that foot or two that we're cutting in. So we're not cutting in, creating a groundwater issue. What we also did is I added a few snow storage areas on the plan. Again, conceptual at the moment, but the idea was to put the snow storage at a corner where it was easy for them to plow. Then I've also added some grass swale just under those areas to kind of help collect any of the melting snow, help get that recharged. This stormwater, snow storage area is just upgrading of the detention area and some proposed plantings again to help us there. This snow storage down at the bottom slopes towards the wetland this way, so again, another planting area to help with the melting snow. And the other areas are much higher up out of the 100-foot buffer zone. So the driveway design itself hasn't really changed. What we've done at this point is we've done more evaluation of that hillside with Dan's help and our soil holes, and kind of started specifying where these snow storage areas are. Another change was Amy had mentioned this little tiny replication area that we had originally proposed right in here is probably going to be a hard feature to maintain, so we've just made this area bigger and removed that part. So that's another area we could possibly do some mitigation work that's independent of the 3-to-1 ratio for the mitigation area.
Wait, I thought the snow storage areas need to be outside of the 100. You said you were within the 100?
This one's within the 100 and that one's within the 100. 3 of them are outside of it. But again, what I've done is with the ones that are inside it, I've added some plantings just downhill of it for the melting snow to have to go through prior to it going towards the resource area. I don't think it would make sense to have to plow all the snow up the hill to outside the 100-foot buffer zone. So we're providing at least a couple areas for it to be stockpiled inside the buffer zone.
So your plants sodium chloride lovers?
Again, we're going to study as to what the best features are for that. But as of right now, I know we're not going to vote tonight, and we still have to do our drainage plan, so I wanted to at least introduce Dan's plan to you and give you some more input on our thoughts here.
I think, there's the waiver hurdle, and then with respect to the steepness of the driveway and the materials that will be required to be used, I don't see any way to avoid a permanent negative impact, direct impact to that wetland buffer area from the sand and the salt. It's a residence, and with the impracticability of plowing snow, up the slope. It just remains my concern that I don't see any way to avoid a permanent impact to this wetland.
Well, the public good was, we are still in the process of, have that on the table of that 2 acres plus of land.
Okay.
That doesn't mitigate the permanent damage the driveway does.
I wonder if we could condition that they have to use a system where a truck and a backhoe, and you have to load the snow onto a truck.
How are they gonna plow
How
that?
do you implement
They're
that?
gonna use one of those
No way
new
that
plows,
can
and
be
it's just
enforced.
gonna go this way.
No, they can't
One,
use
for
a big
safety,
plow
it's the
to begin
spreading, and
for
then
the 100-foot.
It's not
Why
just the
can't-
plowing too, it's you get rain, or snow melts and
Because the
it's
plow it right into the
just gonna
resource area.
run down. And it's
It's
just
there
not
anyway.
reasonable to condition it that thou
Mother
shalt not
Nature put it there.
use sand and salt on your,
Yeah, there's-
you know,
Salt is
10%.
in the-
Well, you.
It's just not
you
reality.
Have to be
So I'm having a real hard
salt-free, but
time.
you could use
All right,
some
can we
sort
have-
of- Some sands have minerals in them. So, you probably definitely have to sand it, but don't necessarily have to put salt down.
Yeah, get a
But
lot of
TSS is a
filling.
problem too, TSS and filling the wetland. I know you haven't done your stormwater, Neil. One of the things with respect, so
Is that what you
you're
wish
probably
for?
aware the Mass DEP's stormwater regs are very archaic. They don't represent reality for stormwater.
Okay.
So especially with respect to conversations surrounding protecting direct impacts to the wetland and direct impacts to the buffer, we would hope to see real numbers, you know, such as the Atlas 14, you know, or something more updated than what Mass DEP. Is that getting realistic numbers, you know, goes into the conversation about
Okay.
protecting the wetland.
Best alternative is a summer house.
How you thinking?
Or within the 100-foot, have a heated driveway. Electrically heated driveway.
Well, even up the hill, because up the steep part is where you need the sand and the salt, and it is gonna run down. Water doesn't care.
Isn't always the best because it'll thaw it, and then when it gets cold, if you turn the heat off, it freezes and now you got ice. So this.
Yeah, I mean, we
Black ice.
we can't condition a safety
Although we
hazard
don't turn it off.
on a future resident. It's
Absolutely.
not something, not something I'm willing to do.
It is expensive, but that would be the one way to prevent salt.
Yeah, it fails.
Taking notes.
Yeah.
You're talking about plowing downhill. How's the plow gonna get to the top of the hill in the first place?
Well, they would plow up and the snow would go
Well,
to
if
the
the resident
side.
owns the plow, then he'd have it parked at the top of the
Right,
hill
but-
where he is.
Yep,
More
that's
likely
possible.
they would hire a plow, I would assume.
Or maybe they
Maybe
really like
not.
to
My
snow
father-in-law
blow.
just bought a plow for his driveway. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people
No,
own
my
them.
father-in-law.
If they had a driveway like that, they're gonna hire, they're gonna own one before they hire one, I'm sure.
Yeah, right.
And
Or maybe
a lot
they
of
like
people
to
with long
snow blow
driveways,
like my
they own their own
husband.
plow.
Like snow blows the
It's alone
neighborhood.
time, yeah.
My driveway's tiny and flat.
All right.
But
I mean, it is cheaper to plan now for something like this than later, if it's gonna be something like a heated driveway.
Well, and I think with respect to mitigation, to counting the trees, even though they're small, you know, and as.
We have done a survey of all the trees in
Okay.
here as well as in the swath of the 100-foot buffer zone where the driveway is, so.
Okay,
I
so you
a
have
map-
it for the.
I have a map for all
The
that.
mitigation area too? Like what would
Yeah.
need to come out?
What would come out, yeah.
I just missed the first part where you.
Yeah, we do have a plan, I didn't bring it, but that'll be part of our final package.
Okay. Yeah,
It still
it's-
acts as a super highway for the water to go to the Farrell's property and down along to mine.
Although he said that he's done storm counts to show that
Again, the
not
stormwater
anymore.
calculations will
Sounds
have
like-
to be that we're slowing down the velocity of that
Right.
water. So we are not creating, as he says, a river of water going to his property. That's what the stormwater calculations always, you know, are what they're designed to do, is to make sure that we collect and slow down the water so that it's not going to your property any faster, or
Now,
to the
what-
resource area any faster.
Sorry, you said that the brown, are those walls?
These are grass swales.
Just grass swales kind of going along the slope again,
Slow
to
it.
act as a slowdown of the water that's going down the hill. The surface stormwater, that is.
Sorry, just, I feel foolish, but.
No,
What
ask.
exactly is a swale and how big
It's
is
a
it?
depression it has
It's like a
grass growing in
ditch,
it,
but shallower.
so that the water then goes in and it will sit there and then go into the ground, rather than straight down the hill.
Does it have gravel in it at all, or is it just?
Some do have, but most, you know, a grass swale is just that. It's gonna have
Yeah,
grass.
It'll have
so
some
that-
capacity for the water and
We
it to
calculate how
like
much it holds
hold
and
it.
So
And the stormwater calculation
the hill of
should,
this
show what it can
What
hold.
stops the water from simply kind of flowing over the swale?
The calculations.
Calculations of the depth of
That
the swale.
they're
The
adequate
depth of the swale will be
capacity.
exactly based on the slope.
And there's the dirt tapped down so that it's not just soft and the water just kind of runs through it. You know,
There's
the water's supposed to-
construction details.
Yeah, so they're
specifically.
constructed so the water will infiltrate, and the intent is for the water to infiltrate and not wash it out.
The ground can act as a source of treatment for the water.
Sure.
Which is what it does now with no impervious surface on it, and so the stormwater
Like I said,
calculation.
water's going, whenever it rains, water is going to that wetland now. So there's a calculation to determine what that is. And then post-construction, based on all the features that are included in the design, the velocity or that of water going to the wetland can't be any greater. The whole goal is to slow it down some, so that this isn't impacted any more than it is currently.
And
So-
is there, this side of the driveway is really, really close to this property line, and there's no room for stormwater, like infrastructure there? Is there, I mean, looks like it's outside the 100. I mean, is
Well,
there?
It's going to be designed to keep the water into a feature that then directs the water to here.
Sure, I understand that,
So it's
but,
not going to go over the edge of the driveway into their neighbor. It's going to go down the driveway and then into here.
so it won't
So it's
ever go
sloped
over the
away.
driveway, ever?
What's gonna make it stay on the driveway? Is it just gonna be a nice?
Well, it'd be,
It could be curbs, it
Slope.
could be catch basins, it could be all sorts of features that, just like in a road, when they build a curb, the water hits the curb and runs down the gutter of the curb to a catch basin, then it goes into a stormwater system.
I can
So-
see a curb being hit though by a plow and not being a great long-term structure. I would like to see some sort of solution for the stormwater on that elbow. Because I'd hate to see a scenario where, you know, there's a design put forth and it's, you know, it works for a few years and then we've got, you know, we have a neighbor issue because, you know, the new person is forced to address
Understood.
some sort of issue.
Looks like there's
Look
a
at
swale on the upgradient side of the road, as if the whole road sloped in that direction.
Yeah, because the hill's going down towards the road rather than that water just sheet
Right.
flowing over the driveway. The whole idea is to have some kind of a swale on that side to intercept it and direct it away from the driveway.
And we'll direct it away instead of just letting it sit there and.
It's going to go down the hill and then towards this planting area here and then into the wetland.
And it won't eventually erode underneath the driveway?
Well,
No, it's
so that's
intercepting the
it.
water before it gets to the driveway.
Or like or, you know, down the road, if the driveway isn't maintained or, you know, there's a washout or something, because there's an extreme event. I mean, you design to reasonable events. You don't have to design to an extreme event. So, you know, there could be some point down the road where the driveway is not maintained and then it's washed out and then you've got an issue.
So what kind of paving, is it gonna be paved or is it gonna be?
I would think the steeper portions would be paved for sure. Just for ease of maintenance.
You'd have to pave all of it because the stone dust, you'd end up with puddles.
Right.
Or we wouldn't want to see anything
It's
washing
gonna
out.
make a mess.
I think the intent is to have it paved because of the steepness of it, and for the ease of plowing and maintenance and not having to rebuild in the long run.
I mean, it seems, I feel like for a resident, it would be a pretty heavy lift to do major maintenance on this driveway. So-
Right, which, again, the
Which is why
intent
we're
right
having
now
this
is
conversation.
the property owner, he's seeing it as his own property,
Mhm.
and he is a contractor and has all the equipment, so.
Right.
But not, the next
So
one
we
might
see
not.
people in here all the time who run afoul of regulations or get stuck with something they didn't anticipate or, you know, it happens. Or there's some, 3.75 inches of rain in one event that washes stuff out and,
How
the
long-
economics are a reasonable case, not worst case.
Understood.
And so,
How long a driveway is it?
I know I had that number before, and
yeah, we definitely had that number at one
I
point.
have a scale here, though, no, I think it's longer than that.
You could read a book from the time you start to the time you get to the bottom.
150. Here to the first corner is about 250 feet. And the 150 is 400. So it's about 700 feet long.
And it's got, what, a 60-foot?
So what is it, 800 feet? The town doesn't allow to have it any longer than 800 feet?
Well, for a
There's
single
some-
driveway, there's rules for multiple driveways, but again, this is just serving one driveway. But I know there is a maximum length for a shared or common driveway. But there would be adequate turning radius for any emergency vehicles or whatever incorporated up by the house, so that an emergency vehicle or a delivery truck could turn around, doesn't have to back down the driveway. That'll-
You have pullouts.
And we also
As
have
well.
turnouts for cars passing each other, if so happen. Again, it's a single-family home, so it's
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's not going to be as common as if it were shared.
but you still need to have this run by the fire department too.
Right, yeah. We have to make sure it meets all their criteria.
At one point, you had a storage tank as part of the water mitigation thing. You know, did you ever have the water go into essentially, I'll call it a dry well, I don't know if that's the right term. Is that still in the plan?
There's two detention areas proposed right now, one here and one here.
One of them was a physical tank, as I recall, that was going to have to be maintained as well.
Maybe that's one of where's two houses?
Is there still a
Be like a
filtration
cistern for
system?
fire protection. I doubt if he's gonna have, they would require a fire department,
Like a
require a
cistern tank.
cistern. I know they did up to Chestnut, two of them.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the fire department. Sometimes they allow you to put sprinkler systems in the house in lieu of that, so at that point, that's kind of a
Yeah, but it's.
building department question, a fire department question.
This was part of your water mitigation plan at one point, I just don't know if it was maintained.
Is they gonna drill a well or have town water?
I believe there's town water in the road.
There is town water.
It'd be a deep well.
That's a long ways to pipe it.
And it's a septic
I gotta bring you.
system.
Yeah,
Be a
there's a
deep
leach
well.
field. It's private septic. That's all up here outside the buffer zone, up close to the house. And, you know, a well or town water, that would be the owner's choice, but, you know, during the construction of the driveway, running a water line could be a possibility.
I don't have any idea how deep the wells would have to be up there.
It all depends on how much water they obtain by, I mean, they measure it as they keep drilling.
I think my well is around 400 feet.
They range anywhere from a
Yeah.
couple hundred feet to mine's over 600 feet. where I live.
Oh, well.
So it varies from site to site. There's no exact science to it. Until they drill
Like
well.
this, yeah, until you
Sometimes-
drill.
You know, well drillers have a package for up to so many feet of casing, and then after that, it's by the foot, so.
So I have a question about the driveway materials. Are you planning on putting down, like, smoothing out the dirt and then putting down the gravel bed?
Yeah,
and
it'll be
then putting
designed
the
to
asphalt?
specifications, engineered specification of certain amount of gravel base underneath the pavement, yes.
Okay, because I know like with my driveway, they just used recycled asphalt as the base.
Okay.
And then a 1-inch layer.
Top.
Yeah, and it's like
Oh,
falling
yikes.
apart.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, it's falling apart.
call your builder.
I've tried.
I know you have.
If they run water
Well,
pipe,
okay.
are there regulations where that pipe has to go, like for maintaining it, if nothing else?
The water line?
Yeah.
They usually will put it in the shoulder of the driveway.
but, Would it go along the driveway?
It usually goes along the shoulder of the driveway. Like one side will be water, the other side may be electric.
Okay. That's a good point, they have to run an electric line too.
And usually underground is cheaper than waiting for Verizon with multiple poles, so. Or whoever does the poles. But, all right, I mean, I don't want to take too much of your time.
Dan, when you did your study, at the base of the slope, you didn't see any indication of seep?
No, I mean, it was, I walked that whole area, you know, from the whole route of the driveway, there was no indication.
Like, you also said you walked out
Yeah, I
here
kinda
because
did transects across
we were
here.
seeing, you know, darker leaves and like
Okay.
stands of ferns and very specific, like vegetation in
It's
very
the bit
specific
more towards
areas
the-
and not elsewhere.
More towards the base, right? More towards when we walk, kind of
And
like
some
that
like
break.
a little bit up the hill too, but yeah, like basically a break and slope, which
Break
from
and
a
slope, we were
hydrogeologic standpoint,
walking
you
the
would
breaks.
expect
We're
to
kind of
see
walking the break.
there's
in the slope.
groundwater. It'll
Right,
slow.
okay, yeah, but certainly not, I didn't notice anything in where the, in this area.
Sorry, I actually have a multitude of questions, but I wanted you to get all your answers first. Now I just realized that you're going to probably cut it off.
Well, we don't have a 9:15.
We have a 9:30.
We have a 9:30.
Yep, but we can.
I don't know if they're here yet, so.
So before I get to details, I just want to say, happy anniversary, it's been a full year now. No, I feel like I'm at a loss because I don't know how to assess what you're saying from my side of the property line. I don't have access to your side of the property line. But everything you're doing is uphill for me. And a number of these items are right up against what is the definition of my lot line, including the walkway that is proposed for the donation here. I'm not sure whether I should be out hiring contractors to evaluate the water situation or not. Sorry. But it scares me. It scares me from a personal property point of view, but that's not what this meeting is about. This meeting is about the wetland, and it scares me from the point of view of the wetland as well. I don't see any way that you can look at this and look at the town bylaw for the variances, wherever I had it, and say that it has a significant net environmental improvement in the conditions of the buffer zone. I don't see a net improvement for anything natural in this environment. And I know some people would like to get that donated land, but there's nothing prohibiting this property owner from donating the land, even if the project isn't approved. There's nothing stopping the property owner from taking care of the invasive species problem, even if this project isn't approved. And both of those would be great things to do. I feel like this sort of project is exactly why the Massachusetts regulations are in place. And moreover, why Littleton decided that wasn't enough and put even more stringent requirements in place. This is exactly what they were looking to avoid, and I don't understand why it's gone as far as it has. So, with that said, I have concerns about how close we are to the property lines, but I also have very great concerns on the maintenance issues that we're talking about. Right now, I have a driveway. I like to keep my house looking nice, but I have a driveway that has a lot of cracks in it right now, and we've been putting off repaving it for several years. Hope to get to it next summer, but the facts are, orthodontia, all kinds of other things come up that take precedence, and there's no reason to believe that this homeowner uphill from me is going to be any different. Moreover, the only person to see if something's going awry is the person who's living in the house that I'm at, and I wouldn't even have a full view of a lot of it. I also couldn't in good conscience tell a homeowner who is my neighbor not to salt their driveway if it's a matter of getting up it safely. And I'm also not going to turn them in if they make a space at the roadside if we approve this project because they're afraid to drive up the hill. There are so many things that you're putting on this poor homeowner who's going to be looking at the purchase price of a home to decide whether they can afford it, not knowing that actually if anything goes wrong with the swale, they need to fix it, and if anything goes wrong with all, I mean, there's so many mitigations. I don't understand. Sorry. I don't even know how to be articulate about it. I have all the same concerns I've had in the past, And, I think they're all on record. And it's now encroaching much more closely on my property such that I don't actually think it can be built where it is without disturbing the stone wall that defines my property line.
They already said they were taking part of the stone wall out.
No, that was a different, I hope that that's a different stone wall you're talking about.
Yeah, we
The part on
can't
Robert
disturb
Roberts.
any of her,
It's not gonna go on your
it's not
property.
her property wall, it's the wall dividing the property, which
Right.
we can't, we're not proposing to disturb that wall.
I thought that was the thing we're taking out.
So,
Now, you can't take out half the wall without
No.
destroying the wall.
so the driveway that you're building, at that point near my property, it doesn't have any, like, little tapery lines going anywhere. It's just, it's very close. Also, and I know this is just a real, it's just a nit, but if all of this does come to pass, I think the right-of-way, the public right-of-way should actually be up the drive. I think it's a lot safer for people than sending them along the line you're sending them, but that's okay. I'm just,
Do you mean for the path?
the path, but honestly, I hope it doesn't get to that. It's, you know, it's just a thought. If it were me and I showed up there, I'd walk up the driveway, just saying, that's probably what I would do. And it would disturb less to do so. But I just, I think this wetland is going to be something that goes away if this happens, and I don't think this homeowner is going to be coming back to thank the commission for having approved it. And I think it's,
Yes?
So I do think that Jackie brings up a good point just in what is the likelihood that this will pass? I mean, we're starting to get really creative and trying to force this to go through, right? Like, is it really viable? Are we gonna keep coming back for another year to try to make this happen? Or is it just not gonna really work?
That depends on the applicant as to how much money they want to spend to have it engineered and to make it fly.
Yeah, and that was another question that I had, because, like, I know every time they come here, it costs money,
Well,
right?
that's up to the applicant.
Okay, like, I just didn't know, I'm kind of new here in town still, so I don't know how this all works.
Again, he's applied for a permit, so he's submitted the proper application work to open the public hearing.
Sure.
Right.
And we have had some back and forth with the public and the commission. The property owner has adjusted the plan accordingly. He has invested a lot of money in buying this land, so obviously he would like to get at least a house on it. He was hoping for 2. He was hoping for more than 2 at one point, but again, he obviously has an investment. He can't just, he wants to take it to a point where he's put his best foot forward to see if he can get a permit.
Sure.
That's his prerogative as a property owner.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, right?
So,
I guess.
again, I know people would love for him to donate the land, but again, when you've sunk that much money and what you're gonna get back in return for a donation isn't gonna, he's a businessman, so he obviously invested in the land thinking he wanted a developable property. Historically, he was hoping for more than what he has right now. He had, as he mentioned early on, he had an offer accepted on the land abutting it, which went for first right of refusal, which the town was able to obtain. So, again, his plan has shifted a couple times along the way.
At the same time, we did say early on that, I'm going to use the wrong words, but a crisis on his part is not a crisis to us.
I understand.
He built a piece of property that had he not done so, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
No,
Because he
but they
would've-
already did an analysis showing that they couldn't have gone through the other way anyway.
It would have.
Well, he would have had to go to the Board of Variances to get a variance. How's that any different than coming to the Conservation Commission and
It
saying,
is
let me put
different.
this
But
big
that's up to
driveway?
him, it's his decision.
No, I know that, I'm
So
just saying though,
I mean,
because he created a crisis for himself, that doesn't mean we need to bend over backwards. We need to be honest and follow the regs, that's all I'm saying.
I do, I mean.
Well,
it
and that's
does
why
make
we're still
sense
having
that-
hearings.
Right, exactly.
And it
Again,
hasn't
And as you said, that's
passed.
his prerogative. If he wants to
It's,
spend money on it,
what's really on the table is whether there's enough for a waiver, and it's the balance of Is the donation gonna offset permanent impacts to that wetland? That's the crux of it for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense. I was just wondering.
Again, I wish it were quicker, but, you
So
know.
it's not, yeah. I know Neil likes to hang out with us.
I was already at another town meeting before coming to this one, so was Dan, so, you know, we're out 3 or 4 nights a week, trust me, I want to get these projects off my desk as quickly as anything, but,
And we've
you
had
know.
a big gap too, like
We've
we've
got
seen.
to bring this to a close.
Yeah.
I understand, there's another hearing coming.
Question about what you just said. I thought that in order for it to pass, not only did they have to did you have to think that the donation was of sufficient value, but that they still weren't going to be allowed to damage the wetlands? Like, I thought that that wasn't an option to just say, oh, well, wetlands damaged permanently.
Right, well,
Okay,
that's why
'cause
we're
we're
here
doing
week
this.
in and week
But
out
that's-
talking about
but that-
different engineering.
Am I right that
Yeah.
that's not acceptable to
Well,
let them to permanently
There's
damage them?
mitigation.
Again, the whole idea is, we're
Right.
not
I understand
proposing to
mitigation.
damage the wetlands, it's just whether or not we've proven without a reasonable doubt that the measures in which we're putting in place will protect the wetland, even with this
With
construction.
the limitations of
Right,
the site.
there's construction going on near wetlands all the time. The big
Steep hill.
Point
Right.
Plaza was near a wetland that's under their jurisdiction, so there's,
But the regulations have
understand
changed,
it
that's the point, was we're moving.
so there's, I'm just saying, that
Yeah.
there's big development and little development near wetlands. Dan is in it full-time, he works for simply a wetland consulting company, independent of us.
And in this case, the
Close.
only way that they're able to access the property is this, over
Across the
the wetland. And so that's the crux of it too, is that there's no choice in terms of the development of this particular property,
Well, there was.
if you're gonna develop it.
May I request to continue the hearing to your
Yes.
January whatever meeting?
13th.
13th, fair enough. Thank you for your time, appreciate it. Happy holidays. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
This way, we may even be saying, happy Memorial Day.
Oh, yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Did you all sign in?
Yes, signed in. Can I just ask one more process question? Do you guys decide on the night of to take a vote, or do you plan ahead to take a vote? Like, is there a chance
it's
that
on
you
the night
miss a
of.
meeting that it
We
just
could have voted,
happens?
yep. We can vote at any public hearing.
Good night, folks.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Shouldn't assume we're up next.
You're on
That's all yours.
I know it's not 10, so I'm guessing you're off base
Yeah, we've been pretty much on schedule pretty
that
close.
time.
15 minutes behind.
Yeah, the people before you are not coming to the MBTA.
Yeah, we had a lot of cancellations tonight. Otherwise, it would be easy on 11.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
15 minutes later, 3
I know.
cancellations.
Wow.
Okay, 1, yeah, 3. 3 here. in
Three.
Swarthmore.
Go for
That's
it.
big ones.
Yeah.
It's getting late.
Oh, we forgot his things. Are we supposed to take that?
Neil's
That
soil.
looks like it's Amy's.
This was someone's strategy to hear at New Jersey, is they brought in soil samples to submit into evidence so that the commission would say, oh, we're not taking those, they're contaminated. So they could prove that, yeah, the commission wouldn't even, this was the abutters.
That's a good.
So I'll throw this out the window. Drop this over in the building department.
Julie wanted me to taste it, so.
Right, well, that's what
Yeah, rub it
that's what
on
I'm not a
you
geologist,
want. I was
yeah.
gonna say, it's
I'm initially not a geologist.
It's the dirt.
Come on, Neil's been carrying this around since October.
in college.
I've seen you guys do
Yeah,
it.
no, tasting is,
He's probably
they
downstairs.
don't really teach it anymore, but.
Yeah.
Give him the dirt.
Get the dirt.
Get the dirt on.
Oh, does it come back for it?
Soil, kind of self-respecting soil scientist calls it dirt.
I had a college professor that did this.
All right.
Go for it.
So,
Hello, everyone. Nice
Hello.
to see you again. So since the last time we met, we've been engaged with Green International Affiliates. We performed a site visit with Courtney Semlo and Alice Monk from their office right before Thanksgiving. We had a draft responses to their comments at that time. We reviewed them here with Amy after the site visit, and then submitted our final responses after making edits to the hydrology model, edits to the plan, submitting additional supporting documentation like hydraulic calculations, pipe sizing, and we were talking with them as recently as this afternoon to make sure they were satisfied with everything. Amy, would you like to comment on their status?
Yeah, they've got, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6, next comment type things, most of which aren't wildly
Is that
pertinent.
different from
So
the-
different than what's on
Is
the
it
site
different
right
than
now?
what's on
This
the-
just came through tonight,
Okay.
if you want to take a look at that.
Yeah.
So,
That one, so yeah.
Yeah.
the only one, they recommend the subsurface recharge system to some geotech investigation to get the estimated seasonal high groundwater, which would probably be a condition of the approval. 36A, if you need another sediment basin. And 40A, she said that the manual only covers maintenance, not operation. I thought there was,
There's language right out of context.
yeah, that's what I thought. but-
O&M on
Yeah.
how to maintain their units.
And then
I think
just,
From inspection to vacuums.
right, yeah, and how often it's,
Yeah.
the frequency, and, yeah, I thought that was all in there.
Yep.
So still some outstanding stuff, but I don't think anything really major. I think, and I told him not to come tonight. I didn't think it was worth her coming here.
That's fine.
I think the most, I don't know, fundamental change was the change to, was it originally a constructed wetland or a wet basin?
Yeah, that was
Well,
my question reading through
that
this.
was- yeah.
If you could go through that, it would definitely help me.
Sure. Well, we got rid of the constructed wetland
Yeah.
because of the removed internal access drive. The wet basin was a remnant of the 2003 approved plan, which is what we first came here with.
Yep.
And then with reviewing it internally and with Green International, we realized that 1 foot of wet permanent pool didn't do anything. All of our water quality volume was provided in the recharge systems, and the ponds were just providing peak attenuation. So we simplified those designs and turned them all to dry basins.
Were you using the Mass DEP? Have we had the conversation about stormwater and actual storm event, like representative data? Like Mass DEP uses like Bulletin 71. That's not representative of actual. Before we switch, that's all, like, I think before we switch and say it's gonna be dry, and then it doesn't happen, and then we don't have capacity, that's all.
You're referring to rainfall events? I believe, and we talked about this in our meeting. with
Yeah, I
Green
thought
International.
we talked about it before, but I couldn't remember.
No, I don't think, we
No.
haven't gotten to that level of detail.
Do you know what you use?
I believe we use the NOAA, not the,
The full Atlas, not,
Atlas 14 is not NOAA. I don't think that's NOAA. There's some other, I'll Google it.
not the, I'm blanking, what's the university?
Cornell?
Cornell. We do not use the Cornell,
Yes, yeah.
but we use the NOAA.
I remember them saying that they didn't use Cornell.
Okay.
You were-
I'm just concerned about using the Mass DEP, which is just not representative if we're making decisions that aren't. Oh, it is Atlas 14.
No, we do
Okay.
not use the default
Okay, so-
Mass DEP lookup tables.
Okay. So it is NOAA Atlas 14.
I'm quite certain of that.
It was
Yeah,
EPA.
Which chart thing are you talking about? I'm lost.
they're
talking
basically use a
about-
bigger storm.
Right, so if we're thinking,
not one of these
if we're
kind
thinking
of-
basins
just
are gonna
general.
be dry,
Oh,
but we're
just
using
general.
out-of-date precipitation data and we end up with a wet basin, we don't want
Right.
engineering for a dry basin if if they're actually going to be wet.
Well, if there's a
That's-
low flow orifice at the bottom of the pond, it's
Yeah.
going to be dry.
Yeah.
Kind of regardless of the rainfall event, it's going to be
Unless
wet.
downstream is wet.
Our outlets are high enough
Okay.
above the receiving, any receiving water with it. There's not going to be a tailwater condition.
Okay. Just making sure. Any difference?
So that was the decision. Frankly, SMMA had been mulling that switch from the get-go, and as soon as Green mentioned it several times, it was a logical choice to make that switch from the old hole-in-the-ground wet basin design to,
Mosquito factory.
to the combined groundwater recharge subsurface system combined with the dry basin. And it just simplified everything, simplified the treatment train spreadsheets, so
Yeah.
I think that was a good call that we came to together. So, based on conversations we had with Courtney and Alice as recently as this afternoon, we feel that they are satisfied with the stormwater design. There's like Amy said, there's a few minor changes to be made. There's a few that don't necessarily agree with. So we're happy to run through this one more time with them if that's desirable.
Which ones don't you agree with?
The one in yellow? Is that right?
The ones in yellow are just like,
Blank.
the ones that are still there.
They're
And
outstanding.
for some reason, 43 through 48 didn't print.
I guess it would be 40A that we didn't.
Which, those didn't print for some reason, I don't know why.
Oh, yeah,
42. Not in the print area.
okay. So the ones in yellow, the response isn't complete yet, but the ones you disagree with, are those marked in any way
Okay,
here?
so
No,
they-
I marked up the yellow ones.
Okay,
So red is their follow-up comments.
red.
And-
We don't have.
Which
Oh,
it didn't come in,
red.
but it's the yellow. Oh.
It's the yellow is the red.
Anything that has the
Anything with A, yes.
We'll get
is
there.
the next level.
Okay.
I think generally they're all acceptable with the exception of 40A, which I agree with Amy, our O&M plan does include the proprietary devices, water quality pretreatment units, inspection, cleaning, sediment storage, everything is verbatim out of those manufacturers.
Yeah, because I had some questions about the mowing, which is the operational side of things, so it was
Yeah.
in there.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
So the comment.
They might have missed it
isn't-
some, yeah.
Oh, okay.
but other than that, there's just.
What about the 7A one with the geotechnical investigation? I saw the plans look like it was thoroughly,
Yes.
explored. I don't know in relation to where the recharge system 2 is. But.
We stated this right in our original notice of intent filing in the narrative that the geotechnical investigations on the site were focused more in front of building 1 and 2, and that was for the design of the wastewater treatment facility and dispersal field. There was virtually none done over by building 1, so we engaged Sanborn Head early in this process to get there, to have them review the historic boring geotechnical information, the groundwater elevations as it relates to the adjacent wetlands, and we think that the groundwater elevation will be close to making the recharge feasible, which is why we designed it as being feasible. We are perfectly fine with having it be written into the conditions that geotechnical investigation is performed well before construction to see if it is feasible. If we find that the groundwater table is high enough to make it infeasible, we'll revise the calculations to have that be subsurface detention only. the recharge that's exfiltrating through the bottom of it is 0.01 CFS, so by just eliminating that, it doesn't do really anything to our hydrology model. And if the groundwater level is high enough, it just waives the requirement for recharge altogether. Brings it from a C soil to a D soil. So, understanding that if the commission would feel comfortable having that be a condition, that's done 6 months prior to shovels in the ground, whatever makes folks comfortable, that provides adequate time to
6 months enough?
To adjust the model and have a conversation about, absolutely. Yeah. I just threw that number out there.
Right, no, well, I'm just thinking like your construction sequencing, if you have folks lined up with materials or, contracts, in place or that type of thing, that was just my question.
Well, we can talk, it could be.
Yeah, if you want to think about the number.
Schematic design.
Because I guess one of the, so you bring up, the groundwater elevation and, our groundwater elevations are projected to rise with climate change, and there's quite a bit of literature out there on that with respect to Massachusetts in this area in particular. So it just seems like, having that in mind, like if we're close to some sort of threshold, I would opt for, being protective of the infrastructure so we don't cause some sort of issue, both environmentally and with the future infrastructure.
Yeah, and we don't want a groundwater recharge system that is inundated with, full of groundwater the whole time and doesn't function. So it's in our best interest to make sure that's designed properly as well.
Yeah, and that was a condition for both Durkee and Cooper. I think they both needed, but I don't think we had a time frame. That's what I was trying to find, but on there.
Well, I think,
Other than it has to be done before,
well, Durkee
we'll sign off on
Cooper's
the first
residential,
building.
they're not gonna have construction firms under contract to, as, with this.
At all.
From a flexibility standpoint, that's all.
Yeah.
So, we appreciate that you're, looking at this in detail and, wanna do the right thing with respect to, where groundwater is. So I guess think about the timeline, maybe talk to a few folks and get back to us on what that might look like, and we can, go from there.
Yeah, thank you. I should say that, we are very confident in the groundwater elevation for the sewer dispersal field and the very large, the larger of the two recharge systems. It's this pocket one over by Building 3 that
Understood.
we just don't have substantial data for at this time.
Right.
Where is that in your? Yeah, but that's in phase 3, right? So
Yes.
But but this is phase 3 of the project too, right?
Yeah.
So you could still have shovels on the ground while you're
that's
creating
true.
data for the site, or no? Or would?
Well, we'd have to permit it though, knowing, I would think.
It'll be a condition, yeah.
Yeah, just make it a condition that you double check, and maybe it would
verify,
be like a minor project change or something, or that we know that this component needs to be designed properly, and, there's a realm of possibility.
Maybe you can come up with a draft language for a condition,
Happy to.
so you have something to work against.
Right, so we have, flexibility within reality, we can get a permit done.
Yeah, and if Gutierrez has...
Always going to have flexibility in reality.
It's my world, It's my world.
If Gutierrez has a site contractor out there doing phases 1 or 2, it wouldn't be that difficult to get a machine over there for an afternoon. So.
Don't drive through the wetland.
So it looks like there's still quite a few things still to work on before we're able to close.
There's some red here, but it's, change the label to say 12-inch, provided detail for the low flow channel, which is a off-the-shelf thing that we have. There's, frankly,
Need a
there's 2
detail for
hours worth of work
the access crossing, the access between the phase 1, 2, and 3. You need the detail for the trail, the access way.
Yes. Yep, we'll follow up with that as well.
And you were thinking stone dust?
Yes.
How are
It
you
is
gonna?
flat, I'll give it that.
Yeah,
And it can be curved, or,
yeah.
And if you have some
good
edging.
That's what I'm
Edging.
edging. Yeah,
Yeah.
curving is definitely the wrong word.
Edging.
Edging is.
There's a lot of
Maintaining.
concern about it just either not being maintained or it can reveal it so easily.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's, yeah, or your area, gets, the material gets compacted and then, it like floods in and starts running out. I
Yeah.
definitely have concerns about migration. Have you looked at any like pervious pavers or any other possible material?
We have a lot of experience with these types of paths where you try to keep it as limited disturbance as possible. It seems like everyone has flaws to them. Stone dust is very susceptible to washout. I think the edging recommendation, I didn't hear who that came from.
It's been amongst all of us.
Yeah, I was thinking in the area, so it is relatively flat coming down to this pinch point that we've all been focusing on. I think would not be susceptible to wash out for, the upper 75% of the trail. And then right down in the low point where is, the tip of the wetland, it receives runoff. I think that would be a good idea to have edging there and perhaps I think there'd be enough vertical without creating disturbance too far in either direction where you could install a 4 or 6 inch PVC pipe just to let the 95% storms not even have to go over the the path. Storms bigger than that, any surface you put in there, you
Oh, yeah.
spend a
We
lot
talk
of
about
money.
extreme events are extreme events. We're not asking you to
Yeah.
design it to that.
Yeah, you put in asphalt or something, and then you have
Wash out the
chunks of
bottom.
asphalt down there.
Yep.
So our recommendation is stone dust. I know you had sent a wood fiber product
Oh,
before.
yeah.
It's interesting.
It hasn't been used much up here. It's over in Acton, but it's
Does it
been.
float?
No, it's bonded. So,
Oh, with what?
and it was actually initially developed for horses, so it's.
What's it bonded with?
I don't know, some
glue.
polymer,
PFAS?
something terrible probably, I don't know. But it was conceived of to stand up to, hooves.
Okay.
And you actually form it
Huh.
with like an edging material, almost like a sidewalk. You put in a pea stone base, and then this wood fiber, like 3 inches thick. Add your nasty chemical, and it all
congeals.
It's a real built thing. They have it over at the Acton Arboretum because they were trying to get away from stone dust and other stuff. But
And it's pervious?
sort of. It's also expensive.
Well, how about just gravel?
Good process gravel.
We are under the assumption right now, and we've graded it as such, that it needs to be ADA accessible. So gravel.
Yeah, not so much.
We've tried gravel mixtures, done mock-ups of 10-foot sections of various gravel types, and it all comes back to pea stone every time. It's just proven. Yes, it can wash out, but when installed correctly and maintained, it's a good product.
Pea stone or stone?
You meant stone dust, right? Okay.
Stone
Second,
dust.
sure, make sure we're going through pea stone.
Ooh,
That's what you went back to. It's
quite interesting.
So Amy had noted that we did not include that detail,
Yeah.
so we will do that.
You're just waiting for the final.
And we
So it
can
sounds
provide a typical with and without edging for where it's not needed and where it is needed, and perhaps show, minimum covers to get that PVC low flow pipe under it as well.
Well, and
For the
maybe you need
treatment
to
system?
add removal of TSS from the wetlands to the O&M.
If pea stone does enter the wetlands, is that what you're referring
No,
to?
like if you have stone dust, when it washes out.
Yeah, we can
That's
absolutely add trail maintenance.
Trail
the
maintenance and,
item. I mean, I guess regardless of what, I mean, take a look at what makes sense. We obviously are concerned about inevitable washout. There's no perfect material. ADA is important. That wasn't something I had considered until you said that, so that's important. And so obviously that limits materials, but I would say, lack of nasty chemicals would be nice. ADA importance is nice. And then if the only choices that, will get ADA compliance are, the stone dust and O&M to remove the inevitable washouts out of the wetlands should be in your manual.
at least it's pretty much really at the top of the watershed. So there shouldn't be a lot of runoff coming through there.
Great. Yeah, just be.
So besides that, what else is on the list that would require you to change your plans? Like submit a new plan, modifications?
Just having a condition for the recharge system too.
Yeah.
Did you have anything for revegetation if needed in the debris pile removal area?
Yes, we reviewed that this afternoon.
Okay.
We'll extend the wetland seed mix into the debris pile removal,
Yeah.
which is not currently shown.
Because some of it's in wet and some of it's in up, or is it all?
Only a portion, 20% of it or
Yeah.
less is in the wetland itself, but the rest of it's in the 50-foot.
Right.
So,
Some seed mix or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Just make sure it's on the planting plan or wherever it makes sense to
Yep.
put it, get it spec'd in there.
Is wetland seed mix acceptable, or would you like wetland within the wetland and then conservation in the 50-foot buffer?
I would probably do two different, and it's pretty shady in there too, so I would do two different just to make sure you got enough possibility in there.
Happy to.
Is there invasive plant species that you're going to be taking out, moving around? Do you have a plan for that yet?
There are some areas that will be removed entirely, kind of right along the road.
There's a, is
directly
it
across
the Japanese
across the
knotweed?
street.
Or Phragmites, I can't remember,
I
there's a
think-
big patch of something in there.
Yes.
Yes.
Can't remember what it is.
There's some that will be removed as part of the building 3 pad entirely.
Need to figure out how to deal with that without spreading it around and do it properly. Incinerator is an option, like knotweed.
Yeah. I'm
It's
just
an
having to
option.
deal with this on another site, and
Yeah.
I don't think this is the right site for it, but controlled burn, has this commission ever authorized that?
No.
For
Man,
instance,
I have no
before.
issue with them, but we've never done it.
Yeah. It's the wrong site for it.
Yeah.
I was just curious, because
It is the wrong site for it. It was yeah.
A controlled burn of it in place or the slash pile when you're done with it?
Hey.
No.
That's interesting.
Oh, burning them in place.
Oh.
Look at it.
I've seen fields burned over and they come back just lovely green.
I do it back home,
On
with our
Knotweed?
field. No, just a standard hayfield.
Oh, yeah, but not for Knotweed.
But in this town I'm doing it with, it's a Phragmite in a pond.
Burn it?
With no real overhang, so it's a perfect situation
This is
for it.
just
I
guided.
don't think we're gonna do it, but
Can we burn the point, the base of the Nobody would call that.
You'd find that
Sam
diesel
would be
fuel real
happy.
fast.
I know, exactly.
Guess they did get some in there.
But we would, we want to make sure we're not, like,
Yeah, I would
spread-
just-
it's on site, let's not spread it around, let's be good,
I
responsible.
double check
our-
with Ensor what's out
Yeah.
there and how to deal with it during construction.
What I found, I had Phragmites in a cornfield, and took about 3 years of spraying it with Roundup,
Yeah.
and we finally got it.
Yeah.
But you had to, because every time the shoots come up, you had to keep spraying Right.
taken it.
Yeah. So perhaps a condition to properly dispose of invasive species.
Yeah. And do you have any problem, does it just get too complicated to mow the outer portions of the basins? Like no more than once a year?
Yeah, so we talked about that as well, Amy. Fully in agreement that we'll probably keep the O&M as it reads for brush hogging twice a year for inside the basement
yeah.
and on the maintenance berm.
Right.
But we're perfectly fine letting the slopes down to existing grade go once a year, every 5 years. Not for the first 5 years to see what comes up and reassess.
Maybe just not more than once a year, rather than getting too crazy here.
Or every other year.
Well, when you say not more once a year, they can, wait 10 years before they do it, but, which is fine too.
We're in full agreement with that.
Yeah.
How fast would you anticipate all the phases? I know it's all how fast you sell stuff, but what things looking like right now?
Ed?
It's demand oriented. We do field calls, several calls this year for tenants looking in the area, but I'd have to have a crystal ball to be.
No, I understand that. I just didn't know how what you're marketing versus how fast they're selling. Certain things sell faster than others.
Yeah, well, it's whatever, what it's designed for. I mean, that's what we're marketing for.
The ability to expand and create a campus is a huge draw to this site. It's not a single office. It's, as you know, some of these companies can grow very quickly, and if they're signing a 10-year lease, knowing that if they do really well and
they gotta expand,
and they have to expand, they have to stay where they are. That's a huge drawback to some companies. So ability to expand is a huge attractor for this, and having, as Gutierrez does, active permits in hand with the speed to market is essential. It's a non-starter if you say,
I'll build this for you, but I have no permits.
Yeah.
Nope.
Talked to a conservation agent 10 years ago. So speaking of that, when we had that side conversation with planning board a few months ago now, we would like to re-engage with them to make sure that they're on board with these changes, and perhaps after making the plan revisions, perhaps working with Amy to draft some of this condition language. It would be our hope to have both of those approvals, for lack of a better word, come together at the same time.
Do you think so are you farther along then now with us than you are with planning board? Is there like a lot to go back to them with? Yeah, it wasn't my impression that there was, but it wasn't. Okay. I was just wondering if you were anticipating some sort of major snafu and needed another co-meeting. Okay.
Not to put words in their mouth, but no, we're not anticipating an issue.
Sure. Right, no, of course.
I think you want to work into a real good job of grounding up there. That area is noted for lightning strikes.
Grounding?
You really want to keep that in mind. I know a woman lived in that area and she just got moved because of barn and burned and things like that.
Just a lightning alley?
Yeah.
Oh, and someone
my yard got
called
struck 2 years ago.
the police department about a well, which kind of sounded like it might have been on your property, and a deer had fallen in it like ages ago. And I'm like,
Well, it was an option. It was an option.
I wasn't entirely sure, you know, I was getting this third hand where it was. I said, "See, not my well."
I don't think there's any open wells on this site.
I don't know why there would be,
Are
but
they worried about the deer now? Is that what they called?
Yeah, I want to see another one.
Yeah.
That's
the
interesting.
police were pulling it off of me, and I just pawned it right back again. So,
Hey, guys.
because I couldn't tell, I wasn't even sure if it's the Littleton side or the Boxborough
Right.
side of things too.
Not aware of any open wells.
Just to let you know,
Okay, thanks.
you might stumble across something really
Falling.
freaky out there. Well, I can send you our kind of standard order conditions, so you can look through them. And I'll put in some areas where there's some other conditions that may need to go in there.
Okay, if there's, you've mentioned one that you, for the recharge system, we're happy to draft the
Yeah.
initial language for that. If there's
Yeah.
any others, just let us know.
The commission will need to decide about whether or not environmental monitor is needed. There's all sorts of other stuff, which are kind of standard special conditions. But a lot of this work is like right on the 50-foot. So,
Any other questions at this time? Amy, should we be in touch about the next hearing? I don't,
it is going to be January
January
13th. Or, yeah.
If there is a dug well or something up there, it would be probably somewhere near where the existing house and barn might have been. I'm not saying it,
like the pre-existing one? Somewhat.
no, there was, if you drive in, there was a house and a barn right off the end of Foster Street, straight in. There's it's kind of an open, but I can remember the house and the barn that was there. It was a pretty good size. What comes to mind is that I know of somebody that didn't know they had a well until they almost fell in it.
Yeah.
This was over in Harvard, that I'm thinking of.
Walked in that area a few times. But I didn't do that.
Soft landing, maybe.
Cesspool without
Why do you always bring someone out there?
Or a cover on it
a, yeah,
Yeah.
that covered over.
yeah. And cesspool. I don't think you need to keep that, you know about that already.
Yeah, I might.
I mean, I suppose.
All right, well, thank you all for your help. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
You got it. I'm already writing it out, so.